This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Another win for the Winnipeg Jets last night, and another big show coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Great to have you with us, coming off of Eric Comrie's 3-0 shutout win, along with the Winnipeg Jets over the Carolina Hurricanes last night. Fun night in the rink. Was great to be back on the show yesterday, and was great to be back in the stands last night, seeing the number one team in the National Hockey League continue their winning streak and extending it to 7 and getting their backup a big win in his first shutout of the year. We're going to break it all down. We'll hear from Comrie and head coach Scott Arniel. We'll talk more about the Jets heading into Friday night against the New York Islanders and the Four Nations break with Kevin Sawyer of the TSN hockey team, and Ken Wiebe's going to join us a little later on as well. Of course, it is Super Bowl week, big weekend in golf too, with the Waste Management and the Live Tour kicking off. Geoff Fienberg jumping on in hour 2 of the program, get his thoughts on the big game, and talk a little golf as well, see what he thinks of the TGL so far. LA beat Boston Common last night, for those of you that were all tied up with the hockey game and not paying attention to the TGL, which I've actually really enjoyed watching so far. But last night, the stars of the game, Eric Comrie and Jet video coach Matt Prefontaine, who got some high praise from the winning netminder afterwards. 2 for 2 on challenges last night. A successful challenge of a Carolina goal in the first period, and a successful challenge of a Rasmus Kupari goal that was called no goal. And what was really interesting about this was the timing of it. And we'll hear Arniel talk about it. I mean, our conversations, even though it very much looked like a clear goal for Kupari, the danger of challenging at that point, up 2-0 with less than 4 minutes to go, if all of a sudden that challenge is not successful, you just handed a power play over to the Carolina Hurricanes to allow them to get back into the game. But Prefontaine was right. The coaches followed his advice, and he was a big part of that game last night. As I said, we're going to break it down with Kevin Sawyer and Ken Wiebe, hear from the Jets and the coach to get things going here on WST today. I mentioned that game on Friday. Don't forget, gang, if you haven't already, jump on the final few tickets for our Winnipeg Sports Talk group night. Our game of the month in February is this Friday. It'll be your last chance to get out to the rink for a couple weeks to see the team before they go on the break. And, hey, Friday night, Canada Life Center, 7 wins in a row. Why would you not want to be there? WinnipegJets.com/WST. Click on it, get those seats, and join us in section 316 for what should be a very, very fun night at the rink, heading into the Super Bowl weekend, and of course, the break for the Winnipeg Jets. Also, should mention, just for Jet season ticket holders, ticket package holders, there's a package that came this week for you, and then today, I know I just renewed my seats for next season and for the playoffs right now, so you can get in on that and set up your payment plan. But I did notice last night at the game, they did quite a good job of promoting the upcoming playoffs and letting people know that if they were thinking about, getting a season ticket package for the remainder of the year, looking into next year, or next year, you can get your playoff tickets first as well. So for those of you that are maybe waiting to see how this season went, I'm not sure what more this team can do to make you a believer. So you can jump in on that. I'm sure that our friends at the Jets would be more than happy to take care of you, to get you on board if you've been thinking about, making a commitment and becoming a season ticket member, and of course being ready for whiteouts and hopefully a long playoff run down at Canada Life Center. Just before we bring in Michael Remis, welcome to everybody in chat. Great to see you all. Hit that thumbs up button, and if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And a huge thanks to the great sponsors that make this show happen each and every day: Princess Auto, Coolbet Canada, Rollies Transfer, Manitoba Battery, and fansfirst.ca, Canadian Club, Wallace & Wallace, F Apparel, the Winnipeg Jets, Little Brown Jug, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, and of course we'll get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. Welcome to the chatters, everyone with us live on YouTube, and welcome to you, Michael Remis. How about that last night?
How about that? It's Jets loving us. I mean, for the last 2 weeks on this show, the topics have been, man, how great are the Jets? Aren't they so awesome? I mean, 7 wins in a row right now. It's been incredible to talk about, and it's different people contributing. On Saturday, Josh Morrissey had the winner, but it was that second line we were raving about in Cole Perfetti's play. And last night, I don't know if we'll ever be able to say this again. The poll right now, who was the biggest difference maker in the Jets win? It's the video coach, Matt Prefontaine, leading 46% of 137 votes. And I mean, it's hard to argue. Was he named like one of the stars of the game? Can you even do that? He had 2 for 2 challenges, and like that first one, they were in the crease, but they showed the replay. I was like, I don't know if they're gonna overturn this. You never know with the video review, but they won that one. And I think the Kupari one was a little more obvious with the puck sitting there and him whacking away at a loose puck. You got to be able to whack at a loose puck. What didn't move the goalie's pad? So
it was weird that they called that off, to be honest. I mean, that was right in front of us where we were sitting in the 316 corner. And I was kind of dubious at the time when he so vehemently called the goal off. But the fact of the matter was they had the stones to challenge that, because, I mean, if that's the middle of the game or something like that, you probably do it. There was 3:46 left, if I'm not mistaken, in the third period at that point. And as I mentioned, I mean, if there's not enough evidence to overturn that, you're handing a power play over to your opponents that are dying to get on the board and get back in the game. So there was some significant risk reward. I'll be honest, I was a little surprised they did challenge it just because of the situation. But as already mentioned after the game, they've got a lot of trust in Matt Prefontaine and their staff and the work that they do. And they were pretty vehement that this would be a successful challenge, and great for Rasmus Kupari and the Winnipeg Jets to get that insurance goal, and then just were able to bar the door down, prevent anything from getting past Eric Comrie and allowing a guy that is such a popular teammate to get his first shutout and a big win against one of the top teams in the league.
Yeah, the Jets, just for the Jets don't beat anyone good crowd, which we heard early in the season. I think they're certainly quieted down with them taking down the top 2 teams in the East, your Stanley Cup contender, Carolina Hurricanes, who just acquired Mikko Rantanen, shut them out with the backup goalie. I mean, we're looking at the Coolbet odds yesterday. I don't think, weren't the Jets an underdog?
Listen,
yesterday?
The Jets were an underdog before Comrie even got the start. I had a conversation afterwards, and I was just mentioning with Dusty on the Lock Shop. Like, you have the game of the year maybe on Saturday night between the top 2 teams in the league, Winnipeg and Washington. Both teams had 2 days off. Both teams were at home last night, and both teams were underdogs. Now, the Jets were even money originally. It got all the way to plus 125, plus 130 by the time the puck dropped. And listen, that had a lot to do with Connor Hellebuck not playing. But for whatever reason, the bookies, the analytics guys, they love the Carolina Hurricanes. And listen, the Canes had been a major problem for the Jets in previous years. But what a performance last night for the team from top to bottom. I mean, a real great, team effort that went all the way into the coaching room, as you mentioned, with Matt Prefontaine. And they got that done. And the Caps were underdogs as well at home against the Florida Panthers. I'm kicking myself for not making the disrespect parlay or something like that on the show yesterday with the Jets and the Capitals. But for Winnipeg's part, they'll take the win. And you know what, Reem, while we're talking about this, we've been mentioning that the Jets, that the futures odds for the Stanley Cup haven't really changed very much. And the Jets right now are still 10th in the league. You got Edmonton as the favorite at 6-1. The Canes, who were here last night, at plus 650. Interesting that they're the favorite in the East. Florida's at 9. Dallas is at 10. Jersey plus 1050. Leafs 12-1. Avalanche and Vegas Golden Knights plus 1250. Capitals 13-1. And then Winnipeg at 15-1. And I got looking after last night's game just at where the Jets are right now. Well, they have the most wins in the National Hockey League with 38. They've got the most points in the league at 79. They've scored the most goals in the National Hockey League with 198. They've given up the second fewest goals in the league at 131. They've got a league best plus 67 goal differential. And oh yeah, they've got the best goaltender on the planet that is not only going to win the Vezina Trophy, but according to ESPN right now, is the favorite for the Hart Trophy. Oh, did I mention they got 2 of the top 4 scorers in the league as well for goals? Oh, and also a historically good power play, clicking at over 33% through 2/3 of the year. That has never been done in NHL history. I don't know what more people or the bookmakers need to see. And you can talk about previous playoff failures all you want. Based on what we've seen so far this season, it is crazy that the Jets are at 15-1, considering those other teams that I mentioned. And I personally guarantee that that number will probably drop early next week when everything is recalibrated and you look at where teams are at. So if you've been waiting or you're thinking, oh, maybe I'll put a little sprinkle on the Jets to win the whole damn thing, I would suggest to go over to Coolbet and get it while it's 15-1, because I do think that bookmakers around the world are going to wake up to what this team has done so far this year, put a little respect on their name, but at the same time, drop that number. So I've been making a point to add to the investment at 15-1 while it's still here for us.
Yeah, Don D rating in chat, Rodney Dangerfield of the league, boys. And yeah, I was looking at the TSN power rankings. They have the Jets at number 3. They're leading in just about every category. Have top players, goal differential, goals for, goals against. All we can do on this show is talk about how great they are over and over. And yeah, we're just mentioning the goalie coach, Matt Prefontaine, 6 for 7 on challenges this season. Is there a stats column for successful challenges? Is anyone keeping track?
He's one of the top. Well, I mean, Eric Comrie called him the Connor McDavid of video coaches last night.
And then, and speaking of Comrie, 29 save shutout. I mean, everyone had a piece of that one, except, we were talking so much about the top line, how great they are. And it was nice to see, when you're not getting it from Scheifele, Connor, Velarde, it's this Nemestikov-Perfetti line that's been very good the last couple of games. Nemestikov's been great carrying the puck through the neutral zone. Cole Perfetti tied his career high in assists with 22. And Nino Niederreiter, like perennial 20-goal scorer last season. I felt like he was a bit snake bit and, I don't think he quite got there, but he's on pace. We had with a goal and assist last night, 6th multi-point game of the year. And just Alex Iafallo putting it on a tee for him to get it started. And Neil Pionk, how about that clapper last night, just stepping up and bombing one past Kochetkov. That was dangerous from the top of the circle. But hey, we've seen it from him this year, leading all Jets defensemen in goals. So, you weren't getting it from the top line. It was the second power play that scored. They did go 2 for 4. Pretty incredible performance there again against a top team in the league.
Yeah, listen, the Pionk-Samberg combo was awesome again last night, and Pionk is having such a great season. I know there's some people that are, continually bang the drum. There's no way you can bring this guy back, and again, like many takes, they have a take and not really open to changing that take in the face of kind of new information. Listen, it could be way too expensive based on the season that he's having right now, the demand for right shot defensemen on the right side. But I've got a lot of time for what Pionk is doing this year, especially with that combination with Dylan Samberg. And, sometimes, I think that, and listen, he did struggle at times over the last couple seasons. But he's been a huge part of the Jets' success so far this year. And I think it was more likely that he maybe wouldn't have been back at the end of last season. I've sort of changed my tune on that right now. And I hope that there's a way that, there's a number that makes sense for the team and Pionk to keep him around because, while some people may not want to admit it, that'd be a big hole on the right side of the Jet blue line. If he's not there next year. But meantime, this is about the present, and we can talk about the difficult decisions the Jets are going to have in the offseason at another time. Right now, everyone in this lineup that's getting the opportunity to put on those jerseys are helping the team win, and the body of work speaks for itself right now with where the team is. And it's even more impressive right now that they're doing this without Adam Lowry, Remis. I mean, I'll be honest. I think we talked about this when we realized that Lowry was week to week and going to be out until after most likely the Four Nations. I was hoping that the team could sort of hang on over the course of these few weeks without Adam Lowry. They've done more than that. And players like David Gustafsson and Rasmus Kapari and Vlad Nemetsnikov, the center position, have all stepped up. And that is what great teams do. I mean, you hit some adversity, you have a player or two that's not able to, contribute for a night. Heck, last night, Connor Hellebuck wasn't in net. Other guys step up, and it's been a lot of fun to watch, and it's been a lot of fun to talk about. And even if people in the rest of the league are slow to pay attention to what's happening in Winnipeg, they're going to have to at some point if this team continues to play the way that they are. And as I say, I just bring up that bit about the odds are because I know there's a lot of people that have been kind of slow to, believe this team is a legitimate Stanley Cup contender. I think, listen, this is not saying, they're going to win it for sure. Far from it. But you can make the argument that right now, through this point this season, the Winnipeg Jets have been as good as any team in the National Hockey League. And if you're looking for a little value on the board, I don't know how Winnipeg isn't the first thing. And I do think that's going to change significantly, probably to 10-1 or even less, probably in the next few weeks when everything gets recalibrated. So there's my little PSA if you want to follow me along. Hard not to add a little sprinkle on the squad with what they've done so far at the 15-1 number, considering there's a number of teams that have been nothing close to as good as the Jets have been this year at a much shorter number. Let's hear a little bit of feedback from the game last night because there was a lot to talk about on the ice, a lot to talk about off the ice as well. And it was Matt Prefontaine that was feeling the love from the players and the head coach. Here's Arnie on the coach's challenges. The first one to take a Carolina goal off the board, and then the interesting decision to go forward with the challenge up to in the final 4 minutes of the third period.
Yeah, that one we were pretty sure on because we didn't push Rantanen in. He kind of went through the blue paint and got his stick. So the second one, was a little trickier just because of what the score was. And we're at, I don't know if it's 1-0 game, if we're maybe going to make that call. Just because it was overturned on the ice, and those are tough ones when the referee overturns them like that. So, but I think we had enough video and saw enough that, Maddie, and we decided that would be the right call.
Right. In hindsight, the first period challenge, I mean, we could say it was a pretty big turning point, right?
Sure.
Instead of chasing the game, being down a goal early, you guys get it, and then you score shortly after.
Yeah.
So big swing there.
Yeah, I mean, anytime those challenges go your way, they're boost. They boost you, and like you mentioned, if they get off and get a 1-0 lead, they're on the road and they can shut down with the best of them. And but I like the way we responded. Our second power play, scoring both those power play goals. I thought they did a great job. Like they've done most of the year. So those are big moments, and that led to that win.
All right, some kudos for Matty Prefontaine. And, a little later on, Arniel sort of expanded on the importance and the contributions of the video coaching staff.
The amount of work they do behind the scenes is unreal. Him and James Cochran, all our pre-scouts, we go back sometimes 3-4 games on every opponent. So all that video has to be ready for all the different coaches, whether that's 5-on-5 or specialty teams. Our analytics department goes through them on the hockey side and moves upstairs as well. But they we have that stuff handed to us the next day. The amount of work those guys do is, it is yeoman's work, and they do a ton of stuff. And then you get in the pressure situations of like tonight. Those are big moments, and they're big situations, and that was really the big one for me. Like I said, if that's a 1-goal game, I'm not sure how far we go down the road on that one, and with 3 minutes to go. But those guys are good at what they do, and our success. We always talk about our family and our group. Our coaching staff isn't just the guys you see on the bench. There's a lot more of us, and Maddie and James are a big part of that.
Arnie also kind of expand on just having to make that quick decision to challenge or not late in the third period on what could have been a problem if it didn't go their way.
Yeah, usually not that long.
Right.
And usually there isn't a TV timeout. So I asked if I could tell them my answer at the end of the timeout. They wouldn't let me do that. But the big thing, usually it's not much more than 30 seconds. You got to make your decision pretty quick. And there are a bunch of different angles you have to kind of look at. And that one specific, because above it wasn't really helping us. Yeah. The referee had mentioned that it was interference on the goalie before the puck hit the goalie, but it wasn't after we saw what we needed. We didn't know that was the call. The referee did tell us that it was goaltender interference prior to the puck hitting the goalie, and then once we saw all the video, it wasn't. So that's how we felt pretty confident that we were going to move forward.
All right, so there's Arnie on the challenges last night. Of course, Eric Comrie, big game. Big smile afterwards. We'll hear from him in a minute. But Arnie talked about the decision to start Comrie last night against the favorites in the East, the Carolina Hurricanes.
Just on starting Eric tonight, was this just a case you don't want maybe Connor to have too much of a break if he had played tonight and then say not Friday going into
You
Friday?
got listening devices in my office now? No, exactly, yeah, because I don't think, there'll be some practice, but I think the U.S. starts next Thursday. Yeah. So had a little bit to do with it, yeah. We wanted to make sure that, Combs was going to play one of the two, just decided that we'd have Helly do the last one.
Turned out pretty well.
Now I told you who my goalie is on Friday.
Go. How about that detective work? Big J, Mike McIntyre, getting the goaltender decision for Friday night 3 days early. You don't get that too often. Niederreiter was a big part of last night's game and continues to be one of the more unsung heroes on this first place hockey club. Here's Arnie on the contributions of Nino last night.
Yeah, this was one of his better games. He's played some good ones, some strong ones, but I thought tonight in all areas, like you mentioned, in our end of the rink, he did a lot of good things. His wall battles, when he's really on his game, he wins those, whether it's on the breakouts or that's in the offensive side. But he had a lot of situations where he was net front, had some rebounds, had some tips, created sort of the chaos that's around there from just his big body being there. And I think on Pionk's goal, he was the one battling on the wall that kind of helped dig that out of there. So lots of good things that you'd like to see from a guy like him, big power forward.
I mentioned that, Nino scoring. I mean, Alex Iafallo continuing to do everything he can to help his team win. Both big parts of the second power play unit, which shout out to John Shannon. John Shannon talked about the second power play unit yesterday and made a point of firing me an email right after they got on the board. Here's what the coach had to say about the second power play unit.
The big thing, and they did it in Washington, is we're not just trying to get set up in the zone and then try to get a scoring chance. The first goal and then the one in Washington, we scored off the rush. We broke them down and got inside and got a great look. Obviously, Nino got a great pass. It just that our mindset is if it's a face-off, we're attacking. If it's an entry, we're trying to attack. If it's, obviously once you get set, then you're going into the sort of the sequence. But that group, they all can make plays, and that's what you're seeing. And I like the fact that their mindset is to attack, and that's what they did off that entry. And the other one was the battle on the wall. It was, Carolina is extremely aggressive, one of the most aggressive teams in the league on their PK, and that came down to a 3-against-3 battle, and we came up with a puck. I know the Orlov blocked the shot, but Pionk was ready to pounce on the next one, and that's the stuff you need to do.
All right, so there's Scott Arneal. Now, one more, and this is not necessarily about last night's game, but kind of a bigger discussion about what this team has built, what they've learned from the last couple seasons, the shortcomings in the playoffs. what it takes to win and what it takes to win consistently in this league. And Arniel pointed to the Jets' culture and the high standard of work ethic that he's getting from every player in Jet jerseys as of late.
Well, I think it's just been building for me the last 2.5 years. It's been something that you're trying to implement. I think the buy-in from everybody, that everybody plays the same way when we don't have the puck. Everybody tries to do a lot of that. I mean, skill set's different for everyone, but we try to do a lot of the similar things. Our D zone, how we play without our puck, there is no one way for one group, another way for another. That's the buy-in part that happens from everybody. It just seems that tonight for that game, that first period again was another real solid first period, and I agree with you. I think we frustrated them a little bit. We got them on their heels. We got playing fast against them. The second period they did turn it a little bit, and they got after us, and we got stuck in our end. But I really loved our third. I think we had the chances in the third were 6-1 for us, and that's what I like to see. That's the mentality of us taking it to teams, playing Jet hockey, and that's the buy-in, everybody doing it. When we do it, we get results from different lines, we get results from different defensemen, and that's our success comes from our team game.
All right, so there's Scott Arniel. Now, Kevin Sawyer is going to join us in just a couple minutes. Let's hear from Eric Comrie, though. All smiles for the Jets backup goaltender who got the shutout. We tweeted after the game, nobody beats the brick. Nobody beat Eric Comrie last night, and he was thankful to Matt Prefontaine for the challenge in the first period.
So Matty's the best in the business. So when I was in Buffalo, our video coach there is we're talking about Matty like he's the greatest thing ever. He's the Connor McDavid of video coaches. It was so when I was there, they were I actually, this is an actual conversation I had with the video coach, Justin White. He goes, Matty Prefontaine, what's he like as a guy? How good is he? And I was like, okay. And now I understand how good he is. Because, when when they had their analytics meeting, he's the one, leading the charge. He's the best in the business. We're lucky to have him.
Eric Comrie, man, you just love the energy from that guy. We'll talk about that with Kevin in a minute. Here's Comrie if he thought that first challenge would be successful.
I was pretty certain. I think the league's done a pretty good job of knowing what's black and white now. So I think we have a better understanding. I think the league's doing the best they can. I mean, it's still a judgment call at the end of the day, and they're doing the best they can. I understand that there's going to be some where you don't agree with and some you do agree with, and they're doing the best they can. And I thought it was goal interference, and I think credit to Hellebuck for. He was one of the ones who brought video to the league and showed what is and what isn't goalie interference, and I think that's a big deal. I mean, that's a guy that cares about the state of the game, and he wants the game to be better, and it helps us all for it.
Did you contribute any slides to his PowerPoint presentation?
No, this was a long time ago. This is pre-comms there, so I can't comment on that.
Eric Comrie also pretty fired up, first of all, to get the win, but also to drop a goose egg on a great opponent like Carolina. Here he is on the shutout.
Feels great. I mean, it's always fun to get a shutout, I guess. I mean, I'm never going to complain about that, so I'm not happy. But once again, the team was awesome in front of me. This is a fun group of guys to play with. I mean, this is unbelievable. Every single night, they just battle as hard as they can, give it everything they got, and it's just a special team to be a part of. And I think myself and Helly are very, very happy to play with this group we have.
Right, and one more from Eric Comrie. He talked about the big ovation he received from fans. He gave a little extra for a guy who hadn't been getting any run support in some of his previous starts. Here's Eric Comrie on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hockey's a funny game. You get run support, you don't get run support. It's not my business to worry about that stuff. It's my job to worry about playing my game and controlling my controllables, and I try and do that every single day with the work I put in before practice and after practice, and I just try and go out there and give it my best and give it my best for these fans. And I'm so thankful they could acknowledge me after the game, and that's it's a great place to play. I love playing here. I always come back, right? It's for the fans.
All right, there's Eric Comrie. We'll talk about his performance last night in the Jets in just a second with Kevin Sawyer. Before we do that, I want to thank our friends at Rolly's Transfer for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Gang, if you have a move plan for you and your family this year, lean on our friends at Rolly's, family owned and operated for over 60 years, and the most trusted name in moving in southern Manitoba. Head on over to their website at Rollies.com. You can find out all about their services, but in that top right corner, you can click on request an estimate. Make sure to put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and then let them know when you're planning on moving, where you need to go, and what needs to make the move. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around real quick with a great quote and get you locked in to receive the white glove treatment that's made Rollies the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. For all your moving needs, make it Rollies. Find out more, request an estimate today over at rollies.com. Still not balmy by any stretch of the imagination. We do have some miles left on this Winnipeg winter. If you have battery needs right now to get you through that Manitoba winter, get on over to Manitoba Battery, your local experts for batteries with all makes and models and the best prices in town, period. Beating the pants off the big box stores. You can pop by if you're wondering how your battery is doing. Head down to Logan Avenue or their other new location on Dovercourt Drive for a free battery test. And if you do need a new battery, you'll be able to get it there and quickly installed. And of course, get an even better price with the Core Exchange. For all your battery needs, shop local and get the best prices in town with free delivery anywhere inside the perimeter on any purchase over $60. It's all waiting for you at Manitoba Battery. Check them out online at manitobabattery.com. And just as we bring in Kev, who's been looking resplendent on TSN television, guys, if you need to up your menswear game, head on down to F Apparel at 190 Smith Street downtown. The best in custom men's clothing, including custom suits beginning at $400, along with chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles. And if you have a wedding coming up this summer, make sure to talk to the fellas at F about a special discount for the guys when the wedding party gets their suits at F Apparel. It's all waiting for you at 190 Smith Street downtown. You can also check them out online and make an appointment to come in for a fitting at F, that's EPH Apparel.com. All right. Well, the vibes are immaculate right now. The team is at the top of the table. One more game before the Four Nations break, and Kevin Sawyer from TSN joins us again. Kev, what's going on? Great to have you back on the program. How about those Jets?
Isn't that unbelievable, right? Just like, when's it going to end? I mean, I said at the beginning of the year that they've got levels that can't be sustained. And I was wrong. Just keeps trucking. This train keeps rolling. It's been great.
You know, I mean, we'll dive into last night's game and look ahead to Friday and the break in a minute. But take us through what it was like on the road through this last road trip. They finish off with the win and then go to places that they haven't had a lot of sustained success in the past: Boston and Montreal and Washington. Picking up wins along the way, maybe the game of the year on Saturday, but you're with the team on and off the ice. I mean, what's it like traveling with the team right now that's on the heater that they are, that continues to do and prove a lot of people wrong every time they get out there?
Well, first of all, traveling with the team is the best part of the job, bar none. The biggest challenge is not eating my face off because there's food everywhere. You get on that charter and there's no shortage. Listen, that road trip, for me as an analyst and a fan, although I'm not allowed to be when I am, it's impossible not to be. I'm looking for different trends. For me, a team that is ready to win is a team that's gone through the gamut of emotions, the gamut of different challenges through the course of the rehearsal, the regular season. So you go to Montreal first. It hasn't been an easy place to play historically for Winnipeg, and they got thumped in that first period. And I was like, oh boy, here we go again. And when Montreal can get going, they're lightning fast, they're creative. And I thought, okay, how are they going to respond? And they come back out, completely grab hold of the game again. And of course, win that game. That's not an easy thing to do. When the rink is so tilted heavily against you, to be able to regroup the way that they did and win that game was impressive in a special way. Okay, they move on to Boston, and I'm saying, all right, what's this going to be like? They're in Boston. They thumped them 8-1 the last time they played. The Frederick fight with Gustafsson. What kind of pushback? And there was nothing from Boston. I was surprised about that a little bit, to be honest with you. And Winnipeg just continued on to do their thing. Moved to Saturday's game against Washington. Best on best. And I think it was the game that we all had hoped it was. what you saw there was Winnipeg near their best, beating Washington near their best. And although the Caps were able to tie it up, a couple goals off the rush, uncharacteristic, those things happen. It's just more of the same where Winnipeg doesn't blink. They have such a deep belief in themselves, in their plan, that no matter what happens, good or bad, it doesn't seem to pull them very far away from their nucleus, from their natural default state. And to me, that is playoff hockey. When it gets tumultuous and there's question marks, oh boy, we haven't seen this before. How are we going to react? They seem to be reacting the same way all the time. And that is a mark of a team that, to me, is ready to win. That road trip, especially against Washington on the third game of that trip, beating them in that building, that was a big one. That was a big one.
You know, it wasn't. And I kind of, thinking about what they were able to do, and then going into last night, the old first game back from a road trip, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel with the break performing the way they had. But it seems like there's a focus and a commitment to doing the right things and to each other that really started off on the first day of training camp, when to a man they owned the disappointment, the lack of being at their best in the playoffs. And it seems like in a lot of ways, Kevin, that has sort of forged the identity of this team, taking nothing for granted and focusing on every game as an opportunity to prove, maybe not necessarily to others, but to themselves, that this team is capable of playing with any team that you can throw it on the ice in the NHL right now.
That is the word, Huskers. The word is not skill. The word is not goaltending. The word isn't special teams. The word here is identity. And that has been the focus now for almost 3 years. And on that note, it's almost the perfect team to play against. In my opinion, in my 8 years of traveling around this league, talking to different coaches, Roddy Brind'Amour has been my favorite. And there's been a lot of great conversations over the years. But when I talk to him, I feel like kicking a door off the hinges for him, and I don't even play anymore. He's got that kind of effect on people. And then I go into his locker room and I talk to his players, Stahl, Martin, the core guys that have been there for a long time. They're not repeating and regurgitating what he's saying. You can tell that they've had a part of building what they are. That is a rock solid identity in the Carolina Hurricanes. The reason that I emphasize that so much is the Winnipeg Jets last night took it from them. That is a big deal for me, because that team doesn't get pushed around very often. And I thought that Carolina got beat in some ways at their own game by staying true to your identity. I thought the Jets made a little adjustments to the way they played. They accepted the speed and the attack mentality of Carolina and said, we know how to beat them. Be tight defensively, allow them to come, because you can't push the tide out, right? It's like fighting the wind, and then reverse it and get behind them. And that's exactly what Winnipeg did. I was looking to my right between the benches, and guys for Carolina were talking to themselves coming off the ice. Roddy Brind'Amour was rubbing his face going, my goodness, like they're a shot mentality team that weren't shooting the puck because they were so rattled about not getting the quality chances that maybe they're used to getting. So an identity that's rock solid in Carolina was beaten by, in my opinion, an even better, tighter identity with the Winnipeg Jets. And that's the difference. That's what it is.
There's so many angles of this team. The world-class historic run they're on the power play. I mean, the Scheifele and Connor doing what they're doing goaltending-wise. I mean, the overall team defense that has them with the second least goals allowed in the National Hockey League. And, of course, goaltending. And we always think of Connor Hellebuck. He's the best goalie in the world right now. He's looking at another Vezina trophy. But you had to feel great for Eric Comrie. And I made a point of watching the last 5 seconds and throwing my phone on to see the way the players celebrated with Eric after getting that shutout. And the backup goaltender it's a weird job. I mean, you're often getting the toughest spots on the calendar, the second end of back-to-backs. And up until this point, I mean, the players, I think, felt a little bad that they hadn't played better or at least scored more for Eric. It was pretty clear what a popular teammate he is and how happy everybody on that bench was that they were able to keep the clean sheet last night for number one.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you or any of our viewers here anything about Eric that they probably don't already know. He's so well liked. But the one thing they might not know is through those 8 games, Eric's quality of play was great. It certainly wasn't on him, and that's the truth. There was no game, in my opinion, in there where he was weak. There was only a couple of goals that I can count out of, very few that he allowed against him, that were ones that he'd like to have back. Every goaltender does. But Eric truly blames himself. He looks at those games, and when you try to talk to him about run support or whatever, he goes, I could have done better here. Here's what I could have done better here. And when your teammates see that, hear that, and know that you're taking the accountability on your own shoulders, they take more responsibility and they want to battle for you even more. It's not just because he's a really nice guy. And he's a nicer guy than most people even think. Watching him on the plane, on the road, he's got time for everybody. He's great.
It doesn't even seem possible, to be honest, when you interact with him, like away from this sort of show, just in daily life. Like, he is that dude.
And like, listen, with all due respect, he's a rich kid. Like, we all know it. Let's just say it. Like, he's got everything that he could ever want in life, and he's still one of the hardest workers, one of the kindest, most humble people you'll meet, which makes it even better. It's true. It's crazy. But he blames himself for not being better. That's the mark of a champion in my mind, where you could take the excuses, they're there, but he doesn't. And I think that adds to the fact and to the desire of his teammates wanting to elevate him, because he takes it on his own shoulders. So it's the person, no doubt about it. And that gets talked about a lot. But maybe what doesn't get talked about enough is the professionalism in the person that could have taken another easy road in life and chose not to. He is a pro, man. This guy, he's all Winnipeg Jets through and through. There's no doubt.
I mean, I'm interested in your perspective. And I know Hellebuck, goalies are weird to begin with. And he's a really interesting dude. But what's the dynamic between those guys? Like, are they sort of the goalies together? Are they, if you looked at the team traveling around, would you even know that they're the two goalies? And just in your opinion, what does Comrie's level of positivity, his upbeat nature, how is that helping Connor put together this historic season and the run that he's on?
Good question. If you would have asked me that question 3 years ago, I would have had a specific answer on the relationship between Comrie and Hellebuck and the interaction off the ice, on the plane, on the road, etc. I honestly cannot find a trend when it comes to the interrelations between these guys, because they're never hanging out with the same guys to the point where you are like, oh, okay, well, that's that click. Oh, okay, those guys get along. Okay, it's clear. Like, don't get me wrong, Neil Pionk and Dylan Sandberg, they got an Uber the other day in DC and went out for a nice lunch and saw a monument. They're buddies. But it's not always that way. And it's the same with the goaltenders, where when Eric and Helly talk at the rink, it's not very often that I catch them doing it. We're only in the room so much, but they get down to business, and you get the sense that they're sharing different angles that maybe nobody else can see. But other than that, the relationships are fluid. And that is a big change, guys. Like, where before it was quiet, the room used to be quiet. Now it's like a beer league locker room, and they interact in different ways. As far as the positivity with Eric Comrie, I think guys like Hellebuck, Morrissey, that are at such a high level of professionalism that demand so much from themselves, what helps you can hurt you. In other words, your focus and your energy towards being better brings you focus, gets you ready to play the game. But at times when things don't go well, that can gain momentum in a negative way. And I think Eric Comrie's lightheartedness and he's got such a positive energy helps guys like that, just by saying, I don't have to be so serious all the time, and I can still be getting better while smiling. And I think that's the effect that Eric brings, where he works hard, he's a details guy, but he always does it with a smile on his face. That's needed.
Well, and listen, I'm sure everyone right now kind of taking it from those two to the team overall and the dynamic. Let's face it, winning is fun. And this team has won more than anybody in the National Hockey League. But it does seem from afar like this is a group that, when you talk about a team, absolutely exemplifies not only every single guy doing everything they can to help their team achieve their goal night in and night out, and they've been very successful doing that. But kind of to what you mentioned, there really isn't, on some teams, they're the Russians that are together. Here, these guys, more often than not, and you could speak to it more than ever, this is a night where you could see different guys together, and it seems like it's almost interchangeable because they've come together the way they are and continue to flourish doing that on the ice.
You know what? I'll tell you the story from my perspective, and this is probably an overshare. I'm going to share it anyway. In the front of the plane 3-4 years ago, we would never, media, TV, radio, social media, wouldn't even look over your shoulder to look in the back of the plane. That's theirs, and it is. Like, this is all about them, and we're respectful of being just allowed on the charter, which is a great thing. Now, our flight crew, there's two guys and a gal that are just great, and they've been accepted as family from the team. No different than the media and everybody else, where now not only do I look over my shoulder every once in a while, I walk to the back of the plane, chat with the flight crew, get smacked on the ass from a couple of different players on my way by. And, the guys are playing cards, reading books, chit-chatting, making jokes. And that's not just after wins. That's a general state of attitude. And you can feel it. And again, we've got nothing to do with this. I understand that. But the peripheral feeling of the joy in your day and how much you like and respect each other. That whole fiasco in Vancouver when they said, you don't have to like each other, you just have to respect each other, that's bullshit. You have to enjoy being with each other every day because you spend so much time together. And if you want to go through the gauntlet and raise each other up, you got to like each other too to some degree. And there is no question these guys like each other. They like the people they're around every day. That's a culture thing, back to what an identity thing is too. It's crazy. It's crazy how much that's changed over the last 3 years.
I love your perspective on this because it's a unique eye-in that, fans and probably most of the media don't get. But I do wonder, and you mentioned 3 years. I mean, this really did start when Rick Bowness took over and started, changing that culture. But how would you compare this year's team under Scott Arniel and the new coaching staff to the team the last couple of years? Is it more the same? Or, I mean, certainly with the results that we've seen, it seems like they've taken it to another level. And from the outside looking in, it almost seems like they've taken what was a really good culture that obviously didn't end up with the success they wanted in the playoffs. But it seems like that's sort of formed them into an even tighter group this year.
Yeah, you know what? Think about this. They're less skilled than they were last year, in my opinion. They're less experienced this year than last year, in my opinion. And their backup goaltender probably isn't as good as the one they had last year, in my opinion. And listen, I'm not saying that for any other reason that's what I believe. Eric Comrie is a great goaltender. Lauren Burrell was outstanding last year. So you take all of that, you package it up, and you say, that's what's gone. How are we better this year? Well, it has nothing to do with skill. There's no shortage of skill in this team. That has not been the problem over the years. It has been the identity piece. It's been the buy-in piece. And everybody says, oh, buy-in. Yeah, okay. Well, the only reason that they bought into something is because it works and it adds to offense. You're never going to get the best out of players unless there's something in it for them. That is the truth. Whether it's the end goal of having ultimately to win a Stanley Cup, but scores got to score. They got to score to have buy-in day to day. It's a long, grindy year. And you're looking at Mark Scheifele low in the pocket, on the wall behind his own net, digging pucks out better than he's ever done before. And the buy-in comes because it adds to offense and it works. And I mean, who can argue with that? They're the best defensive team. They're the best offensive team. They got the best power play. I mean, it's all coming together from a plan that has been laid out from Rick Bowness. But the mastermind behind this tactics, the team play, when Rick came to town was Scott Arniel. And so now it's just been more of the same. And you're looking at a team right now that believes what their coach is saying because it works, simply works.
Well, and that belief is a powerful thing, especially when you are looking to overcome some demons or, do things that you weren't able to do in the past. And, it just seems like there's a momentum to what this team has built. And, I do wonder, Kevin, I mean, listen, I kind of went into last night's game, with Comrie starting and having just finished this trip, knowing that there's one more game on Friday and that everyone's going to be able to either play in the Four Nations or for the other members of the squad, probably go somewhere warm and get away from hockey. and that can be somewhat of a dangerous time. They came to work last night with one of their best performances all around. I would expect no different on Friday. But what do you make of just the team, the challenge on Friday, moving forward and just trying to keep doing what they're doing, and then breaking for 2 weeks and trying to fire it back up down the home stretch through the trade deadline to the most important part of the year?
Yeah, it's funny because these trap games in some ways haven't really affected the team. Last game before Christmas, first game home after a road trip. More to what we were just talking about, where they truly just focus on their day and like what makes them best on that particular day. So you're coming in, here come the Islanders, no Matt Barzal. That's going to hurt them big time, of course. But, Patty Waugh's team still can try to lock things down and be hard to play against defensively. And that's no big deal because we talked about it before. The Jets still stay to who they are, play their game, but they adjust to their opponent to some degree as well. And they're fine. No problem. 0-0 after 1, no problem. 1-0 after 2, no problem. But when you leave and you take a break like the Jets are about to, like every team is going to, you think about, okay, what can we hang on to so it makes sense when we get back? Well, there's so many different things. It's not our top lines firing all cylinders, we win because of them. It's not because our top 6 beats the other. Third line's been scoring, chipping in from the fourth line, offense from defense, special teams. There's so many different things to grab onto when they get back that I just think that the rest and the break is going to be such a positive. They're fairly healthy right now, but I think coming back refreshed and feeling good, and rightfully so. They've got a strut to them. It's not arrogance, but it's confidence, and coming back rested, knowing that they've got all these different areas that they can latch back onto, not just one or two. I think the break is great.
I'm not sure if you noticed this. We just found this out about an hour ago that Mike Sullivan has announced that Sidney Crosby is being evaluated for an upper body injury following a collision with Luke Hughes and Eric Holla last night. Listen, I think we'd all love Mark Scheifele to get an opportunity that I think he truly does deserve. I think of all the people that you'd want to, him to take the place, Sidney Crosby is almost at the last just because of the opportunity for him to play. But
wow,
if this opportunity came for Mark, knowing the disappointment early on, how he has, to be honest, stuck it to Don Sweeney 4 times in 2 games, and the level that he's played is probably already at peace with it. Certainly it hasn't affected his play at all. If anything, it's made it better moving forward. What do you think even a last-minute opportunity to be a part of that team would be for Mark Scheifele if he makes it? And if it doesn't come his way, the other side of it, getting some time away to kind of recharge and help lead this team to where they want to be.
Yeah, well, one thing for sure is open arms. There's no doubt about it. And Mark is, and every player will say you never want an injury to happen, especially to Sidney Crosby. I saw the injury, wasn't aware he was being evaluated. So that what a blow that would be to Canada. But to Scheifele specifically, open arms, because he's earned it. And I still feel like the schedule that the Jets were in when Team Canada was picked was the difference for Mark. He was on the outside looking in anyways, in my opinion, and everything needed to go right for him to make that team. And the team was maybe flatter than they've been all year long. I think it was schedule based. I really do. Guys were banged up. There was different time zones, all the rest of it. But what an opportunity, because he's earned it. But here's the other side of this is pain can do one of two things. It can make you go away, or it can make you better. And I'm seeing the latter for Mark. It hurts for sure for a guy that considers himself and is among the elite in the world. For that kind of heartache and disappointment to only fuel him and make him better, that's a great sign for Winnipeg, because this is a guy that is fueled for the right reasons, and adversity brings out the best in him. And whether he makes the team or doesn't, once that tournament's over, I don't think Mark Scheifele's game is going to dip because he needs to stick it to somebody else. I think that he's saying to himself, I need to be better, and I need to continue to grow my game if I want to get to where I want to go in all areas. So what a great sign for, to me, that's a championship habit, where I don't think Mark had that 3 years ago, to be quite frank with you, where he wasn't buying into the complete, both sides of the puck. Now he is. And that kind of heartache, disappointment, adversity, call it what you want, makes them better. That's a good thing.
Well, and listen, I mean, whether you're looking at the numbers that the team has put up or what he has individually, what his line has done, what the power play has done, having a career season. And there's a few guys that can say the same right now for the Winnipeg Jets. Kevin, this has been so much fun. It's always great having you on the program. Just before we go, let's look ahead to Friday night. One more game. This might be the most difficult one just to lock in and focus on before guys get a chance to go on a bit of a break. And they're playing a team that has basically been playing playoff hockey for about the last month in the New York Islanders, who beat Vegas last night and have won 8 of their last 9 games. What are you looking for when we drop the puck Friday night in this final game before the Four Nations break?
So what stands out for me and what I love is you go from Montreal to Boston, and those are 2 completely contrasting styles of game where, one's transition speed, and you have to be able to play in that environment and dictate. And then the other one's going to be more rock'em sock'em, barroom brawl type of a game. It wasn't in Boston. That was more because of Boston's lack of passion, in my opinion. But to be able to shift while still staying to your identity is so important. And I see that same thing coming here where you go from Carolina, shot mentality, shot suppression, up and down the ice. Man, you got to react quick. You got to execute, move the puck, to a style of game with the Islanders where it's going to be in a lot of ways opposite, where you're going to have to understand and accept the fact this could be more chip and chase. This could be more low scoring. Are we comfortable with that? Yeah, we are. And it's just one more exercise on the path to the big show. This is the rehearsal. And the Jets have proven time and time again for me that they can rise above in tough trap games, if you will, but also have the ability to change the style, accept the style, and yet stay true to their identity. So I accept, and why wouldn't I accept more of the same from what we're seeing for them to extend this run they're on.
What do you have any big plans for the couple of weeks? What are you going to do with no games?
Thanks for asking, buddy. I am, you know what? My mom, my son, my nephew, my sister are all meeting me in Puerto Vallarta. So we're going to spend
nice.
Down. Oh man, I can't wait. We're going to go down there and hang out in the sun and reconnect. I'm away from my family so much throughout the regular season. So I'm really, really looking forward to getting down to the beach.
Have a great time. Make the most of it, Kevin. And we'll look forward to catching up with you on the other side of the Four Nations tournament with the push to the playoffs awaiting all of us here in Winnipeg. Thanks so much for doing this. This was awesome.
Thanks, boys. We'll do it again soon. Cheers.
Appreciate it. There's Kevin Sawyer. Great stuff with Sawyer. Really enjoyed that convo and lots of amazing feedback in the chat as well. We're well over 500 right now in the chat today. People are fired up. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. And please, if you haven't already, hit that sub button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And make yourself a regular here talking about the number 1 team in the league as of right now here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Wiebe is going to join us in just a second. You know what? Tons of great comments. Let's get to fan feedback brought to you by Fans First, your number 1 spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market. Fans First is the one site you can always count on with no fees. You know it. What you see is what you pay. And for sellers, definitely the best spot to sell, the best customer service, a really simple and easy platform, and you're paid the day after the game, guaranteed. Check out the site today, fansfirst.ca, if you haven't already. Lots of great feedback just from Kevin and people firing up about this. Chits McGee, I want the President's Trophy banner. Listen, I know it's not the ultimate goal, but it looked pretty damn good sitting up in Canada Life Center. Kevin said he wants to be on every week. He is the Jets guest by a mile. Lots of love for Kevin today. And then Stonewall Dave, I'd love a President's Trophy banner, but I want first in the conference most of all. Make the Oilers play the Avs in the first round. I'm with you. I mean, I think winning the West, and we'll talk about this with Ken, has to be the focus. I mean, whatever happens in the East, that would be great to win the whole thing. But to be able to play the second wild card in the first round considering the playoffs of the last couple of years, I think would be big for Winnipeg. Help them get over that hump and then really kind of continue what they've been doing all year. And then we've got a great poll as well. And this is a wild one. What's the Winnipeg Jets' biggest strength right now? Goaltending, special teams, defensive play, and top-end goal scoring. Well, special teams is number one at 40%, and it's hard to ignore. I mean, a historically good power play at over 33%. Goaltending is at 27%. You've got a guy that's going to, in all likelihood, win his third and back-to-back Vezina trophies. Well, the defensive play is right up there as well at 29%, and everyone gets a piece of that. And the top-end goal scoring is only 5%, and they've got 2 of the top 4 goal scorers in the National Hockey League. Times are good in Winnipeg. Keep your fan feedback coming in the chat. Fan feedback brought to you by fans first, by fans, for fans, no fees. All right, just before we bring in Wiebe, huge shout out to our friends at Princess Auto for their wonderful support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. We couldn't do it without them, and Princess Auto is there for Winnipeg. Heck, the home of the Bombers is Princess Auto Stadium, and Princess Auto itself, now coast to coast, founded in Winnipeg and headquartered in Winnipeg. And of course, with 3 locations here in Manitoba, where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete those projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Pop by and see them, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, out in Brandon for our WSTers in Westman. And of course, you can always shop online and get those ideas churning at princessauto.com 24/7, 365. Big cheers to our friends at Canadian Club. We're just looking to put the touches. There's been a lot going on, as you may have heard, between the United States and Canada and how that's pertaining to the liquor industry here. One thing you can count on, if you want to keep it Canadian and want the best in Canadian whiskey, Canadian Club is there for you. Since 1848, Canada's favorite, most famous Canadian whiskey is available at your local Manitoba liquor marts with Canadian Club Original, the Canadian Club 100% Rye, Canadian Club Classic, and more. And when you're at your beer store next time, keep your eyes out for Canadian Club and ginger ale, pre-mixed cocktails in cans, waiting for you at beer stores around. Keep posted to WST. We're just putting some final touches on the whiskey event that is planned for February 27th. Just waiting for a little clarity on how everything's going on that side of the business before tickets are on sale. But we'll have that for you hopefully by the end of the week, and save the date, February 27th. And hey, a big shout out to our friends at Wallace & Wallace as well. Of course, Wallace & Wallace are the leaders in fencing and overhead doors, the specialists since 1946. If your property needs the security and protection of a new fence, or if winter's doing a number on your old one, give them a call. They got vinyl, ornamental, welded wire, chain link, wood, fences, whatever the right one is for you, they've got it. And if it's time to replace your garage door, Wallace & Wallace has Winnipeg's largest selection of overhead garage doors, one to perfectly match your home and add value to it at the same time. Give them a call, 452-2700. The Wallace & Wallace team will arrange a time to come out and give you a free estimate. You can also check them out online, wallacefences.com, wallacedoors.com, or pop down and see them in person at their showroom on Lawson Crescent off of Kenniston. All right, let's welcome in our good friend, Ken Wiebe, who I'm sure is getting ready for the break, much like the players are. Wiebe, I was just saying to Kevin Sawyer, he's heading down to Puerto Vallarta. I would imagine the golf tour is about to resume beginning next week.
Always, golf is still TBA, but yes, flying to Cancun, heading to Puerto Morelos for a 9-day stop. So we'll be watching the Four Nations from a distance, but no complaints there. So should be interesting. And yeah, I mean, as you mentioned with Kevin here, I mean, will be interesting to see what happens, if anything, with Mark Scheifele in the coming days here. I think obviously also too, some people wondering about Mitch Marner's status too, right? I think wasn't he scratched again yesterday? So yeah. I guess we'll sort of see how things develop. And I mean, this is what John Cooper said at the time. I mean, this is the time of year when guys get banged up, and injuries are sort of something that you're constantly monitoring. So we'll sort of see what the developments are. And, I understand there are some fans who still are on the, give Mark Scheifele a break bandwagon, but And if that ends up being the case, totally fine. But Huss, I mean, this is just an opportunity that would be very valuable. We talked about the reasons it would be valuable before the team was named, and those reasons are still valid. I mean, for Mark to be around, Mark's having a great season, working really hard at his two-way game, and the opportunity to be around guys he was around at the World Cup of Hockey, and then also some other of the guys that are, among the all-time greats. There is absolutely no negative in that potential for him to be around a Team Canada at an event like this. I understand it's not the Olympics, but it would be another opportunity for him to cement his status for the Olympics. And I think he's done an excellent job of doing that, since the team was named.
Yeah, it would be a real bummer if Sid wasn't able to be a part of this team,
Absolutely.
Considering where he's at. But if there's a spot that opens, and whether it's a center or whether it's a forward, there can't be any question right now at this point that Mark Scheifele's the first guy getting a call, right?
That's how I view it. I mean, that's Chris Johnson was one of the people that reported that a while back. And I mean, that was something that we were saying, for quite some time also.
The body of work speaks for itself this year.
For sure. And I mean, I think, Kevin kind of touched on it. It's such a, unfortunate for Mark in that, one of the only lulls in his season, and even to call it a lull is kind of almost humorous as we talk about it. I mean, for a guy who has been a, point a game player and incredible producer, that was one of the few stretches where, again, he's playing through an injury that he didn't want to talk about. It just sort of coincided with some of those final decisions. And, again, managers try not to have that recency bias also, but it seems impossible that wasn't a factor in how the decision was made. And Mark has made that decision look kind of silly in the months that have followed here. And again, that's how you want Mark to handle it. And what he said from the very beginning was his focus was on doing the things to make his own team better, and that has corresponded with his actions have corresponded with the results. And you have to applaud the player for taking that approach. But again, this isn't something where Mark Scheifele's sitting at home saying, "Oh, those guys omitted me. I'm never playing for Team Canada again." Like, let's not be going overboard here, Huss. So I think if the call comes, he would gladly answer, and I think he would gladly accept any role that would be given to him. But I mean, based on how well he's playing, it's hard to imagine Mark not having the type of game that would align well with a top 6 role. Though, again, we understand that Canada is very deep and high end talent, but he can handle whatever role would be offered to him, center, wing, power play, whatever it is. And I think he would do an excellent job. And Huss, we've talked about it before. Like, this is kind of could be his Dale Howard-Chuck moment at the Canada Cup, kind of that idea where, a guy who's known more as a skilled player could do anything that you ask of him, basically.
Listen, this is a guy that I think would jump at any opportunity, would change whatever plans he's made,
right?
And would go in and make the best of it. And I think really take some more back from a tournament like that would only help him moving forward. And listen, I get it. I mean, there's a lot of miles on all of these guys with what they've done throughout this year, but this is the chance to get out there, play for your country, play with and against the best in the world. And it's an honor I think that he deserves. And if the opportunity does come up, it would be nice to be there in Boston, in a couple weeks, seeing not just Josh Morrissey wearing the red and white, but Mark too.
Yeah, I mean, it would be something that it's for the franchise. I mean, they're already, they have Kyle Connor and Connor Hellebuyck playing massive roles on Team USA. Josh Morrissey, especially with Alex Pietrangelo pulling out of the tournament, Huss, I mean, he's going to be in a top 3 role. And even too, a couple weeks back when I talked with Cale Makar about the opportunity, I mean, he outwardly said, I mean, he has an immense amount of respect for Josh, and that's mutual admiration society. But I mean, he was envisioning a chance for both them to be on the ice together at times. We know that his primary partner is going to be his regular partner in Devon Toews, but I mean, if Team Canada happens to be down 1, I mean, of course you'd put Morrissey and Makar out on the ice together, and those guys could also protect the lead if you needed them to. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity, whether it's 3 players or 4 for the Jets organization. And Huss, we talk often about exercising demons and things like that. I mean, with all due respect to the Men's World Championship, when it's played in the spring, I mean, there's an element of best on best, but there's also an element of it. It's kind of a 2-week kind of getaway with your family. And of course, they're trying to win a gold medal every time.
No one wants to be available for that tournament.
Exactly. This is my point here, Huss. I mean, so these guys have played for Canada before and they've had some fun vacations afterward, and I understand that this is not the Olympics and it doesn't have the same buzz or oomph for some people, but I would also remind some of those people, and again, I'm not stumping for the event. What I'm saying is, for someone who has not seen McKinnon and McDavid or McKinnon and Crosby on the big stage, would it be better if there were 8 teams? Of course, but that's not the society and world we live in right now. If you don't think it's going to be excellent hockey, this is seriously wake up territory. I mean, this isn't the players going to the All-Star game and looking for a 16-15 game like we saw in Columbus before they abandoned the way that it was rolling, or whatever the score was. You know what I mean, Huss? The point being that this isn't just an exhibition for these guys, and we understand that it's not it's not something like, it's not the same cachet as the Olympics, but every single player we've talked to, and also Rick Tocchet a couple weeks ago, Huss, with his team in absolute turmoil, he was relishing the opportunity to talk about what it was like to see, Gretzky, Messier, Dale Hawerchuk, and Mario Lemieux playing together for the first time, and what it was like on that stage and in Copps Coliseum. I mean, the people are jazzed up about it. I mean, even coaches that aren't involved on the coaching staffs who maybe should be, they're pumped to watch the events and what it's going to mean for those players going back and coming back for the stretch run and into the playoffs for many of them. And that's where you're going to see the incremental growth. And I mean, the Jets have got so much good stuff going in terms of their team building and a lot of the stuff you talked about already with Kevin, but to do it on an international stage at best on best, I mean, there's nothing but positive things that could come out of that. And I understand too, there's the people in the back corner screaming, well, what if somebody gets hurt? Well, hey, someone can get hurt in any single game out of 82, in any playoff game, and in any international game. So I understand it's a risk for every single player that suits up. But at the same time, I mean, I think there's a lot of benefits to be had from this event. And I think the Jets players that are going to participate are going to come back even more recharged. It's going to give them a level of juice that you're not getting in game 62, with all due respect to the regular season and how the Jets have handled it through 57, Huss. But it's going to provide another element of intensity, and I think that'll only spark that hunger to do better when it matters most.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm right there with you. I mean, listen, am I fired up for the Olympics? Absolutely. Can't wait for them to be back, and that'll be incredible. But I mean, we've gone 10 years without seeing legitimate best on best. And I don't care. You could have even taken the Swedes and the Finns out of it. Give me a best of 3 between Canada and the USA with our best. I mean, I'll be right there. And to have the opportunity to be there in Boston and do the shows through that week, I mean, I am so fired up. It is going to be, I mean, just from a fan perspective, to be at those games is going to be something that I think will get us even more excited, about what's to come next year in the Olympics. But, and listen, I mean, best case scenario, we're there in TD Garden on Thursday, the 20th, and Josh Morrissey and maybe even Mark Scheifele are going head-to-head with Kyle Connor and Connor Hellebuck. And at the end, they all come back to the Winnipeg Jets, pick up where they left off, and keep on steamrolling. I mean, this run right now the team is on, Ken, is I mean, listen, I think there's a lot of people that needed a lot of convincing about this team, considering what happened at the end of last season. Sure. I'm not sure what this team could possibly do more between the start, the way they kind of went through that toughest part of the schedule, still keeping their head above water, and now without Captain Adam Lowry continuing to play at a high level, beating the best teams in the National Hockey League. I mean, they continue. They've still a lot of work left to be done, but be honest, it probably is giving Kevin Cheveldayoff some pause as to, listen, you want to improve your team, but how much do you want to shake up a team that is playing the way that they are from top to bottom, and guys like a Ford or a David Gustafson showing that they can help win games as well when they get the opportunity to get in the lineup?
For sure, Hassan. First of all, pumped for you that you'll be in the building. I mean, Kenny Senior and I thought about going to the World Cup in '96 and ended up deciding against it. And I think it would have been an awesome experience. Unfortunately, if we were able to go to World Junior and go to the Olympics in 2010 together to see some of the best on best hockey that you can see. So super excited for you first and foremost. In terms of how the Jets are playing, Huss, it's been very impressive. And hey, we all heard what we heard at the end of last year, and quite frankly, Huss, not a lot of people who are around the team were overly enthralled with the 5 to 10% better message. But guess what's happened? Those seemed like kind of empty words or empty calories at the time, but the Jets have gone out and absolutely improved in most of those areas at that number. So. What I took away from the end of the year is Josh Morrissey's plea at the end of Game 5 that the Jets, take this to heart and don't want to feel that way again when they come back to work in the fall. And you see that from basically every single player on the roster and those who were brought in from the outside to help augment the team. But I mean, to your point about Kevin Cheveldayoff, what this means for him is not that he abandons the search, but what it means for him is that he can be awfully darn selective in terms of what he is looking for, in terms of where he wants to improve, and to do a full-on, again, background check is not the right word, but, fully vet what the decision-making process is going to be like. You can never fully know how it's going to work out, but they will, be uncovering every stone, no stone left unturned when it comes to this search. And, I think that teams can always improve, but Huss, to your point, maybe part of the reason the Jets are playing at an even better level than last year is that some of the players whose roles were diminished by the trades are showing, hey, I'm still here and you can count on me. So, do I still think the Jets can improve certain areas? Absolutely they can. I think defense is one of the areas that still will be an area of focus for the Jets. In terms of the second line center job, I think they still go shopping in that aisle, but it doesn't necessarily, and again, I'm not saying it wouldn't be, but I mean, the circumstances have changed. Brock Nelson was the guy that made the most sense for a long time. Well, when a team wins 8 of 9, that sort of can change the thinking in terms of what the Islanders might be doing. So, again, some people seeing other teams making moves and saying, oh, why aren't the Jets acting? Well, they're sort of waiting things out. And, not only are they waiting to see where things fall, they're also waiting to see which other players might be available, Hassan. And, I understand that the benefits of the preemptive strike, the Jets saw it with Monahan, and that's often a great way to go. But if you waited a little bit longer, you may get another, opportunity to pounce on a player like a Paul Stastny was in 2018 that you may not think was available until the last minute. So there's always a little bit of a balancing act between that. But yeah, to your point, I mean, this isn't the Jets being on cruise control. And it's not like they haven't had any adversity. They've had, significant injuries throughout the year, whether it's Dylan Samberg and now Adam Lowry. And, every time a player has stepped out, they've had someone step up, and that's been one of the major developments. And, again, people are wondering, oh, what's going to be different? Well, we'll only know in April, May, and maybe beyond. But what we do know already is that this team wasn't complacent with a, top 5 finish in the NHL last year when they flamed out in the first round. And they weren't happy with or they weren't just complacent with a 15-1 start and saying, hey, we made the playoffs, let's just be a 500 team for the rest of the year and see what happens and crank it up when it matters. So lots of work to be done for sure. 27 games is a long time, but Huss, after the break comes and the 2 weeks are off, I mean, it's going to basically be, 26 games. I don't have the math in front of me, but it's going to be probably 26 games in around 60-ish days. They're almost an every other night situation when the team comes back from the break. And that means high volume, but it also means a rhythm and everything else. And now it's about managing where they're at. But the thing that's impressed me most, Huss, about this entire season, I mean, you got the poll going. I think fans are maybe undervaluing structure, based on the results to date. But for me, the biggest thing is how I'm with Kevin. Identity is a massive thing for this group. Again, you can't argue with the results. Tops in almost every category. But to me, it's their willingness to compete and, basically the ability to, play any style of game. You saw the 5-4 special on Saturday night, an awesome game to be in attendance for. The building went absolutely bananas when Ovechkin scored to get the game tied. And Huss, I'm here to tell you, I spent a lot of time with our pal Stephen Wino on the weekend. Wino said that's the loudest the building has been all year. First place showdown on a Saturday night. Ovechkin ties it with a clapper from just inside the blue line. I mean, it was fun to be around, but you see a high scoring affair, which you don't expect from two of the best defensive teams in the league. And then you see the Jets play Carolina, who was absolutely on fire coming into the game. And they basically snuffed them right out in terms of what they were giving up. Yeah, did they have some scoring chances, especially early? Sure. But their defensive game was absolutely stifling, especially in the third period. And that's been the thing with the Jets, whether it was against Colorado or now against Carolina. Some people said, oh, well, they gave up 2 goals and couldn't hold the lead in Washington. Well, that's going to happen in a course of 82 games. And what they do in the next night, they absolutely eliminate one of the best teams in the league with plenty of offensive firepower. And, backup goalie Eric Comrie pitches a shutout and plays great, right? But again, it's crazy, Huss. I mean, the first 5 minutes yesterday, you thought that Carolina might have 50 shots, yet the Jets held them under 30. So that goes back to the commitment and structure and all the things that have made this team very successful.
I was just thinking about what you were saying about, the goal of being 5 or 10% better and everything. The Jet power play is almost 100% better. And I'm like legitimately serious on this. I was just pulling this up. Last year's power play for the Winnipeg Jets was in around 19th or so. They were 18.8%. Ken, this power play now through 55 games is more than a full percentage point better than the best power play in NHL history, coming out of last night's game at 33.8%. And, John Shannon was on yesterday and was mentioning and singing the praises of the second power play unit. And I mentioned I checked my email today, and sure enough, right after they scored, I told you, second unit. Like, how is this happened? Because I cannot think of, honestly, an aspect of any Jet team's game, and we could probably go around the league to find a turnaround like this to such historic levels, going back many, many years. I mean, it has been a phenomenal part of the story, and one that I'm not sure we talk enough about, because when you get to the playoffs and those opportunities are so valuable, that can absolutely be the difference. And we've seen it break games open for the Winnipeg Jets all year. But just your thoughts on just how this power play has developed and continued humming. In fact, if anything, getting better as this season's gone on.
Yeah, Hassan, it's sort of reminiscent of a couple of years ago when the second unit was really rolling with Matty Perreault in front of the net, kind of being a bit of buzzsaw screens and all those things that we're seeing now from the second unit. And again, there's lots of weaponry on the top unit, and they've done an excellent job throughout the course of the year. And, the addition of Ehlers to that top unit has been great. But, if you or I had said going into the year that Ehlers would be on the top unit, you kind of wonder where the offense is going to be coming from on the second unit. But there's a lot of skill on that second unit as well, whether it's, Nino Niederreiter, who's a guy who's played on a lot of top units. Neil Pionk is looking like the guy who was running the top unit when he arrived in the deal for Jacob Trouba. And, Cole Perfetti is playing with a level of confidence that is, at its peak probably right now in terms of where he's at in terms of his young career. Vladislav Nemesnikov has, gotten back healthy, Huss, and seems to be playing with a level of confidence that maybe, I wouldn't say necessarily dipped, but he wasn't playing as effectively for a long time. And, oh, hey, by the way, the fifth guy on the second unit just toe dragged Brent Burns and absolutely made a perfect pass to Nino Niederreiter for his 14th of the year. Man.
Iafallo, every single game I watch him, and he might have the best stick of any Jet in the last 10 years. Just, batting pucks, having his stick in the right
is pretty
place.
Good too, Huss. There's an actual debate. It makes it even scarier, probably, right?
Yeah. Well, listen, I guess maybe, and I say that because of often the role that he's in, a fourth line, third line role. Listen, Filardi's stick doing it at both ends. There's no doubt about it. But, guys like that, when you have players that are playing sometimes in fourth line roles to be able to contribute on power plays and on PK, the Jets PK has, I think, gotten a little bit better right now. It's basically league average. Right now it's 16th out of 32 teams. Yep. But you add the PK with the power play, and they're far and away the best overall special teams units in the and when you have a team that played pretty darn good 5-on-5 and improved special teams to this degree, you can't not. Oh, and by the way, add in Connor Hellebuck. Pretty tough not to think that this team might be capable of some pretty special things.
For sure, Hassan. And just the one thing about the PK that I think we can't ignore, and I'm not saying that you're ignoring it, but in the bigger picture, the improvement from 22nd to 16th is even more impressive when you consider that Dylan Sandberg missed 23 games and he's one of their most effective penalty killers. Now, the fact that Adam Lowry and Morgan Barron, who are often first over the boards together, are not there. So to me, the fact that to call it treading water isn't fair because they're still an improvement. But I think when those guys are all in the lineup, I think they can be back to being a top 10 penalty killing team, which is what they were at the start of the year during the historic start. So, yeah, I mean, what you're saying is 100% accurate, Huss. I mean, there aren't, every team has probably some flaws to a degree, but the Jets don't have a very long laundry list when it comes to flaws. And again, the impressive part about them is that they're pushing to make their other, the qualities that make them a great team, they're always pushing to make those even better. And that's sort of what's that internal competition and that push, on the road trip. Josh Morrissey talked about how they wanted to be coached like an elite team by Scott O'Neill and the coaching staff. And, sometimes that means hearing things you don't necessarily want to hear, but they're coming from a good place and they're meant to try to make you better. And I think that's what's sort of helped the Jets stay focused us because, hey, let's not kid ourselves. It's the time of year where teams can kind of sleepwalk. And I mean, we've seen the Jets struggles in January. We've seen them limping into all-star weekends and coming out and losing 2, 3, 4 more games and then wondering if the season's going to go off the rails. Like, that's not happening with this team. They've just put together their third 7-game winning streak of the season. And again, I understand fans have come to expect that with the way things are going. It's not common to have an 8, a 7, and a 7-game winning streak with 27 games remaining in the schedule. And again, it's just incredibly impressive, the level of consistency. But again, Huss, it's sort of the do your job mentality and like just focusing on the one game in front. And I mean, I know you mentioned it. I mean, it would be easy for the Jets to come home after a road trip and think, see how it goes. Maybe get a split against Eastern Conference teams and just, see you on your way, see you in 10 days. But that's not how they were viewing things. They are viewing things as they want to go into the break on an 8-game winning streak and come back feeling incredibly good about themselves. They're going to feel good about themselves regardless. But right now they've really done a great job of staying focused and focusing on the task that is ahead of them. And again, that's one of the reasons why they built a 10-point gap in the division and in the conference, right? So it's been impressive. They got one more test here ahead against a team that's one of the hottest in the NHL, but they seem to be clicking on most cylinders as they roll towards Friday night's, I wouldn't call it finale, but the last game in a while. And Hassan, a lot of people worried about, what's going to happen when they come back? Well, hey, every team's going through the same thing, and I can tell you one thing. They haven't shown any signs of complacency through 57 games. I have a hard time believing they'll have complacency after 58 games and maybe a little bit of time in some sunny weather. And not all guys are even going away, to hot areas, it sounds like. So I would say there's a lot of people that are going to be fired up to come back for a game on February 24th. Or 22nd, sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And actually, the 22nd it's wild. That caught me off guard. The final for the tournament is the 20th.
Right. Yeah,
and the Jets are in St. Louis on that Saturday night. I think we can pencil in Eric Comrie for that start.
I would say that's a safe bet, Hassan. Sorry, I want to say something about Comrie. I know you've been mentioning him a lot, and you went into the personal side with Kevin. But I mean, for all the people that were saying that there's a lot of bad takes about Eric Comrie's not an NHL goalie, Huss, early in the year, like those are freezing cold takes. Like, it's not just about the numbers. But let's look at the numbers. Eric Comrie has shaved almost half a goal per game against, and his save percentage is .912, Huss. League average is .900, like 12 points above given the circumstances he faces on a nightly. He's done the job. He's already at he's not at an elite level like Laurent Brossoit was, but he's at a very good level. And he's also played well against good teams. I mean, I was with some people before the game, some pals from back home. There was some level of disappointment that it wasn't a hell of a game, considering they were facing one of the best teams in the NHL. Well, what does Eric Comrie do? Oh, how about a clean sheet for the first time in almost 2 years? So that just sort of reinforces the hard work and effort that Eric has produced all year long. And hey, the numbers needed to be better. And you know what happened, Huss? He went out and worked his behind off and made sure that he got even better, and the results have followed.
Yeah, listen, you can't be impressed. And listen, just on a personal level, you just got to be happy for him. It was so great to see him, talking after the game, giving credit to everybody else, but knowing that, hey, pretty nice to shut out a team like the Carolina Hurricanes. Three-peat or Eagles?
Oh, Huss, Wino's a big Eagles guy, but he was singing the praises. As long as I can keep Saquon under control, I think it's a three-peat, but that's the X factor for me. I know I'm not going to be, I'm going to ride with you one more time, but I would say if, I don't have any horse in the race, I would say that Andy and Spags better have the defensive line ready to handle Barkley. Otherwise, could be a tough one. Again, I'm not trying to, this is not rocket science, us, as you know, but if they can handle the run game, I think that Mahomes is going to be hard to beat.
Hey, pal, have a great trip if I don't talk to you beforehand. And
you too.
Maybe
Enjoy
we'll
the
do
event.
A little connection from Boston and Mexico in a couple of weeks, talking about all the Jets at the Four Nations. Thanks for doing this, pal.
Take care, my man. Have a great day here. Cheers.
There's Ken Wiebe. One more K&R. It's Friday night after the Jets and Islanders as we head into the weekend and the Four Nations break. We're going to talk a little Super Bowl, some golf. Geoff Fienberg coming up in just a minute. But first, let's give a big cheers to Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, our good friends at Little Brown Jug.
We're not just for the showboats or the champions. We're here for the good ones. The ones who work hard and show up for others, not to get recognized, but because it's the right thing to do. We'd like to think that our good intentions show up in our beer. We keep working to perfect it, not because we want fame or fanfare, but because you deserve it. 1919, the good you deserve.
Man, we've been talking a bunch of Four Nations with Ken and Kevin Sawyer. Don't forget the Canada jerseys, USA jerseys, Sweden and Finland. The kits are unreal. They're all at Royal Sports right now. I'm getting to Canada done up with the little 44 Morrissey on the back. If you want to jump on those before they're gone, get on down to Royal Sports ASAP. They can also customize them for you with the name and number of your favorite player. I have a feeling I know which ones are going to be in high demand here in Winnipeg. That's all down at Royal Sports. While you're at it, check out their world-class hockey section, the biggest in town, with everything from full equipment all the way down to skate sharpening, pucks, and stick tape. And your Super Bowl gear, too, just in time for Sunday, whether you're riding with me in the Chiefs or the Philadelphia Eagles. That's there waiting for you as well. But Four Nations merch just in yesterday or the day before. So get it before it's gone at Winnipeg's #1 sports superstore, Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Follow them on Insta at Royal Sports Winnipeg. And hey, speaking of the big game on Sunday, and of course the Four Nations tournament, which gets going next week in Montreal, Boston Pizza is going to be the place to be to get together with your gang to cheer on Team Canada and cheer on your favorite team this weekend. No better sports bar to gather for the big game than your local BP, ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, great prizes on Jets game nights and NFL nights as well. You know where to go, your local Boston Pizza. And hey, if you are sticking around and staying at home, get the great taste of Boston Pizza hot and fresh to your door by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. Let me squeeze in the why not question of the day. I know Remis kind of put this out right now, and we'll put it on the thing, but can the Jets maintain their record-setting power play all season? You can get in on the chat. Yes, they're that good, maybe, but some regression is expected. I mean, it's the best power play clip ever. Doubtful other teams will adjust and know they'll cool off soon. Let us know your thoughts in the chat. The poll's up for the Why Not question of the day, brought to you by Not Auto Corp at Waverly and McGillivray. All right, big game on Sunday, big golf weekend coming up. Let's welcome in my pal, Geoff Fienberg. You can check him out weekly over on the Mayo Media Network platforms. Fienberg, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Must be nice, Huss. Must be nice. Fuck.
It is nice. Back to the studio. Hey, I had a good time with your boy Shag last weekend in Costa Rica. What a beauty he is.
I just know you're one of the good ones who remembers what it was like with Brody Croyle.
Yes. Brody Croyle. We had a nice little run with Trent Green, but yes, Brady Quinn in there for a little bit. It was, but hey, the Chiefs are back and looking to make history, a three-peat. But what do you make of the Eagles coming into this game? I mean, you know where I'm at on this one. I mean, I've got ultimate confidence in Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and I joke to people he's inevitable. But this Eagles team comes in with maybe not the dynamic offense, certainly passing-wise with Jalen Hurts, but holy smokes, the addition of Saquon Barkley and the addition of the beef they have on that defensive line. This is there's a reason why this game is handicapped as close as it is.
So I've kind of have made for me too, Huss, because I'm sitting on a ticket from August for the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. I wish they weren't playing the Chiefs. I know a lot of people had those exact tickets, Chiefs over Eagles, Eagles over Chiefs, so they've hit them both ways. They got their feet up, but I wasn't including the Chiefs in anything. So I got a big, nice return on the Eagles, so big that I probably do have to hedge in some form just because it'd be a shame to come home with nothing, and I respect Mahomes so much. But I think the Eagles are amazing. And I think that offense has another level to it. Hurts played one of the best games of his career in that Super Bowl a couple of years ago, minus that fumble. Hustler, there's a sequence. The Eagles took a freaking false start on a tush push, and then like 2 plays later, Hurts fumbles, and you guys score the touchdown. So right before the half. I'm expecting a great game from Jalen Hurts. I think A.J. Brown over 70 yards is an easy number. I think Dallas Goedert over 50 is an easy number. I like Hurts. I think as long as I like him, I'm playing alternates on a Hurts longest rush because I think when you stack the box, they'll have some creative counter because I trust Kellen Moore. And but I think it'll be a great game. And like I said, I'm going to hedge the other side because I respect Patrick Mahomes too much. And I don't often hedge because I have to like the other side to hedge. I don't just hedge because there's an opportunity. The hedge has to come with a bet I like. And it's easy to like having to bet on the Kansas City Chiefs this Sunday. I pick them.
What are your expectations for Barkley in this game? I mean, he's obviously the center point of the Eagles offense. And if there's one thing Spags does well is counter the strengths of teams' offenses. I mean, I noticed that you were kind of high on some of these passing props. Is that going to come at the expense of what a lot of people expect will be another massive game for Barkley?
I mean, he had that big run to start, like the 60-yard touchdown versus the Commandos, Huss, and he still didn't even cover the game, his like 120 prop. And you saw this week it opened pretty high and it's dropped almost 8 or 9 points. Because I think a lot of the smart guys realize, like, I don't know, guys aren't running for, like, it's been so long since anyone's run for 100 yards in the Super Bowl. It's not very common. Like, we think it's this common thing. It is hyper rare. Obviously, if the Eagles get ahead, we could see a lot of it. I just expect that when they will, like, Spags is blitz heavy and he likes to play his 2 high safety. And against Saquon, he's going to have to respect that. And I think there'll be man opportunities. And Jalen Hurts, like A.J. Brown's one of the best man beaters in the league. And if you bring the blitz, they're going to get rid of it quick. So, yeah, I wouldn't be betting Saquon to the over on his rushing yards. I do like Saquon over his 12.5 receiving yards. I do think he's going to catch something, and it's going to be well-timed and well-designed, and it's going to be a blitz beater, Huss, and it's going to go for something. So that's what I see. But no, I would pick under on the Saquon rushing yards. But if they win the game, I mean, it's hard to think he won't be MVP because when he's great, they're great.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's sort of, any other team, you're basically just looking at the quarterback. The Eagles, you have to focus in on Barkley. But to be honest, that might open up the opportunity for Hurts. And you make a really valid point. I mean, that fumble was so devastating. But outside of that, the last time these two teams played in the big game, Hurts was absolutely phenomenal.
This time, Huss. That's what I've heard. This field will not be slippery. The Eagles' defensive line will hopefully be able to get off. But hey, you've heard this all before. And who's standing at the end? Who made the plays when it matters? It's Andy, it's Patrick, it's the boys, and history, I guess, surely awaits.
That the final boss will be there. What do you think of the total? 49. It was 48.5. I saw it went up to 49. Like, I kind of think both of these teams are going to bring their best and be able to score despite the quality defenses on both sides.
Yeah, I think, I would agree. It's not something I'd be interested in betting the under. Patrick just seems so comfortable in the big game. So it's honestly like your floor if you're the Chiefs is probably 21. I'm not even I think their floor is 21, which is probably a good thing. Right? Means probably not getting blown out or anything like that. And I expect the Eagles to kind of meet their quotas, Huss. I really do. And there's a good chance, even in meeting their quotas, their season point per game numbers, all that stuff, that they'll still get out Patrick at the end. That's very possible. But I expect the Eagles to meet their marks for the most part.
Geoff Fienberg with us here, getting ready for the big game. Any other? Have you dove into any of the more exotic props? Do you have any big hot Kendrick Lamar takes for halftime? Anything else there outside of what will actually happen between the white lines?
Nothing. Inside the white lines, you give me some Xavier Worthy under 21.5 longest reception is something I'm liking. And that might be my favorite prop of the whole week right there.
Hey, Barkley's minus 250 to lead the game in yards from scrimmage. If it's not him, who?
I'm not going to tell you AJ Brown.
AJ 7-1, Kelsey and Worthy 10-1, Devonta Smith 20-1, Kareem Hunt 22-1, Goddard as well at 22-1. I do wonder how active the tight ends will be. I think Goddard maybe more. Kelsey. Listen.
Kelsey's always active in the big game. I would actually, as a guy that's lost some Noah Gray overs in the past couple Super Bowls, I actually don't see him being quite involved. Once Hollywood Browns come back and there's been more of the consortium of that receiving group for you guys, you've done a lot less of those Kelsey Gray, double tree routes. So some Noah Gray unders. I know it's a small number, but he'll probably go over in a Super Bowl after I finally flip on him. I think he's going to be a nice tight end, though. If this is Kelsey's last game, I don't know if that's a thing, but I think Noah Gray I wouldn't think the Chiefs would have to go draft a tight end next year. I think Noah Gray would be great. Will step into that role. He's obviously not a Kelsey, not a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I think
I will say I've been salivating over the tape from that Warren from Penn State. I saw, seam. I covet a seam buster as a child of Antonio Gates, who I think will be announced into the Hall of Fame tomorrow. He should have gone last year. It's kind of crazy when you look at his stats compared to Gonzalez, Gronk, Kelsey, that he wasn't first ballot. A total disrespect there, but hey, it's common with the Chargers. And now when I want to go to Canton, I'll probably have to watch Eli get in, which makes me not want to go, to be perfectly honest, Hustler. So they ruined that for me on a personal level. I honestly forget what you asked. We were talking, the tight ends, the drafts, even Loveland from Michigan. Last year, a lot of people were mocking the Chargers Bowers early, which obviously would have been a great pick. There's no complaints with Joe Alt. There would have been no complaints with Neighbors. Everyone who the Chargers were being mocked to. But again, the Chargers sitting at 22. I'm desperate for a seam-busting tight end. My core needs it. If I was still a video gamer playing Madden,
I wouldn't live without like having like a guy who could break the seam for me. But I think the Chargers will be more of an interior team. But yeah, that kid Warren from Michigan, I'd give some fingers to get that guy on the team. Like I'm crazy like that.
Maybe the Chiefs can trade into the Bills spot and grab him.
He's gonna go high. Like Bowers even slipped a bit last year. I don't think people are gonna let that happen this year. And there are also like 5 quarterbacks that went in the top 10 last year. So everybody freaking slipped. This kid's
that moved down. There wasn't a defensive player till like 16 overall when the Vikings traded.
So that's not going to happen this year, right? Abdul Carter from Penn State's going to go right away. Obviously, Hunter, whatever he is. But listen, you got the Super Bowl Sunday. For me, football season's over. And the Super Bowl, I've told you this before, it's like the garnish on top of your cocktail. It's like the cherry on top of your ice cream sundae. Unless your team is in the game, like you're just at a party that has good food and good company. But God damn it, football season ended with that Bills-Chiefs game.
Well,
I say that every year. It doesn't matter who's in the Super Bowl.
No, it's there's still one more, and hopefully some history to be made. Hey, quickly over to golf. How much of the TGL have you seen, and are you digging it?
I'm not gonna lie, I've seen very little of it, but I want it to do great. Like
it's pretty cool.
I heard last night was tough. There were some simulator errors.
Yeah, well, that's
a tough look, right? Like that's entry level. Like we can't really have that as a problem. People are betting on it. It seems good. Like, will we like it in 12 weeks? I'm not sure. Like week 12 of semi season. I don't really know.
They just need to have some closer matches. Like the one that went to OT was awesome. There's been some blowouts so far. So if they can get a little bit more drama in it and give people more. But listen, we won't be talking about the TGL. This is a big, big weekend for both the PGA Tour and LIV. Waste Management, always a gong show. The people's tourney, if you will. Who's on the card this week, Fienberg? This is a place where, you know, prior course history has really played well. If only we'd thought about that last year, tapping Nick Taylor after he was second the year before. But who's on the card?
So this is, not only a place where course history matters, Hustler, but you look at this list of winners, like take Nick Taylor aside and maybe in a few years we can add him to it, but it's like pedigree everywhere. Guys who are like great at majors, guys who excel at majors. Who's won here? Hideki's won here. Brooks twice. Scotty Scheffler, Ricky Fowler. Right? So Gary Woodland. Like, so everyone who's pretty much won this thing in the last 10 years has really been like a high-level golfer. And why is that? Well, this place almost asks your whole bag. You got to be good with, like, the driver is important, approach. It's an easy place to putt, but you better get hot with the putter or you're not going to be around. So the whole bag is being asked. DraftKings had odds up for a while. I guess because they have a sports book out there, like on property. So it's weird to see futures for a golf tournament, but I have 2 of those. Thomas at 25 to 1 and Ann at 70. I honestly wish I didn't even have them despite them being good numbers. I'm sort of sick of Justin Thomas, so watch him win. I'll be happy. And Ann, like, to me, he's one of the players I trust the least, like in golf in terms of winning. So I don't know why I even have a bet with him to win. But this week, I've made 5 bets and I really like them all. If it's going to get past Scotty. Scotty was amazing last week, Hustler. Like statistically, he was amazing off a hand injury.
Yeah, he's like 3 to 1.
Yeah, he should be. He was amazing last week. He's won here before. He won here a couple years ago. Like, oh,
back
God.
to back.
So people, I'm not really the type that's betting in the like without Scotty Scheffler market, but a lot of people I respect are doing that. It's not my style. He's got to stab me in the heart at least once this year before I'll learn my lesson. The Gala, I've bet like 45, 50 to 1. He's struggling right now, but he almost won here a couple years ago. And he comes out of dips with like really high-end performances. So we're looking forward to one of those. I bet Rasmus Højgaard, 66 to 1. That number is tumbling because a lot of smart guys apparently bet that one. So I feel good about it. But Højgaard, the day, not Nikolai Rasmus. I think this place will set up nice for him. Akshke Bhatia, 75 to 1. Like I said, it's a total bag game. I think he gives me everything I need here, and I like his ceiling. Minwoo Lee. Minwoo Lee is crushing his approaches right now. That's like the weakness in Minwoo Lee's game. High-end driver of the golf ball, high-end putter of the golf ball. When Minwoo Lee is hitting his approaches, that's exactly when I want to bet him. So I've come in on Minwoo at 80 to 1. And Sam Stevens, just like a bag of fire early this season. He hits it a mile. There are a lot of other courses like I've picked him out for, like Mexico and shittier fields. But no, I'm going to take him to win something big this week. So Sam Stevens, it's like 80, 90 to 1, I think, right now. So those are the bets I'm in on this week. You know, I'm expecting Scheffler to win, so I didn't really want to bet any of the good players.
Hey, what about Liv? So let me get this straight. They're playing in the middle of the night in Saudi Arabia, and we're going to get this in the day or late day, and we're going to basically be watching the Stars of Liv play under the lights? This actually is kind of intriguing to me. Pretty cool.
Is it on TV for us? In the States, I saw it on like Fox Sports 2. So I thought it would actually be on Fox because they were playing under the lights in prime time. But no, but I guess I should have looked that up. But yes, they are playing under the lights in Riyadh. So it's super cool. And honestly, if you're like channel surfing by that and you see like pro golf under the lights and it's like Bryson and Brooks and those guys, like who wouldn't stop if you're a sports fan? So I think it's very fascinating. I don't have a clue how to bet it though, Hustler, for a couple reasons. One, I truly have so much respect for like the top part of that live board. And a lot of these guys, Hatton, Bryson, Neiman, I'm sure I'm forgetting.
Rob.
Just say John. A lot of these guys are playing high level golf around the world. They haven't like just taken they're not just showing up for the first time. So I fear them as a group. There's like 5 of them at the top that I don't know which one I'd want to bet, but I kind of know I don't want to bet against them. And something else, I just know this night golf, there are going to be guys that are just going to be done right away. Like their eyes, like there's a reflection, like they will just be off their equilibrium. And I don't know who that is, but it's a variable that I'm certain will exist. And there will be a couple guys who like, they're like, what's the matter with you guys? Like, we're just golfing. Like, it seems the same thing to me, that will like really embrace it. And my partner in crime, Pat Mayo, seems to think like TGL, maybe it's like the younger guys, like who've been great in TGL, you know, Tom Kim, Ludwig, like the young kids who like, it's fun, it's different. Maybe this is something we're into. But I don't know. Maybe that's a fair angle. Like, I don't know that I'd want to bet Louis Oosthuizen in night golf or Sergio Garcia, if that makes any sense.
I'm really intrigued by it. I hope we're able to catch some of it on the tube.
I hope so.
And,
I hope so. And I'm sure I'll bet it live because I'm going to watch it. I think Liv sucks, but I'll give them their flowers here. And more than me thinking Liv sucks is I'm a fan of Bryson. I'm a fan of Hatton. I like John Rahm. I like Brooks. I like DJ. Like, there's just too many things that I like. Players that gets more points on the scales than me thinking it sucks, which I still believe it sucks.
See, yeah, you might be into the individual players. I'm just a Cleeks guy. So, I mean, I'm going to be putting on my my Cleeks garb and cheering on the fellas. You know, it's funny. You look at the odds, and this whole tour is built around this team play. You can't even bet the teams. Like, it's... Anyways, but you know what? This should be a good start for Liv. I mean, this will be interesting. And then they go to Adelaide, where it actually really matters. And I know you guys were talking about it on the show this week. I mean, this is the sort of, like, if they can't get off to a good start and be a little bit more relevant after these first 2 tournaments, I mean, you really wonder how much legs the thing has going for it, because I mean, there just is not a lot of places where this is really resonating at all with fans. And the team thing has basically barely even gotten off the ground other than paying a bunch of guys a lot of money for it.
Well, the team thing's a charade. Like, I don't buy into that. If they want to be team golf, they should actually like play more team real concepts. But I don't buy into the team golf thing. And I mean, yeah, this is I guess we'll see. It's a big start. It's a big day for them, though, Huss. The U.S. Open announced we're giving you an exemption. And no major, like, there have been special invitations to players, like we've seen Neiman get them because like he's gone to Asian tour. Like they've seen an effort by him, a good faith effort by him, and while playing really good golf and trying to earn his spot. So they've given him special invitations to things. This is the first time the U.S. Open said, no, you have an exemption. The highest ranked overall player come a certain date in the middle of May who isn't already exempt, we will exempt into the U.S. Open. Now, you'd like to think most of the guys we've spoken about, they're kind of already in. So I think everyone who kind of deserves to be there will be there. But I don't know. I don't think one exemption for them is unfair. And you can still qualify for the U.S. Open like anyone else. Go to sectionals. Go play your way in. We've seen Ricky Fowler, Jason Day try to do that over the years in the middle of slumps.
I'm here for it. And as I said, it'll be cool to see the atmosphere in Australia, but also just how this looks under the lights. Hey, quickly before we go, and this is a little inside baseball, but Patty mentioned today on the Lock Shop, I've got to ask you, have you been following any of these sports gambling Twitter spaces that has been taking over X for the last number of nights?
I have.
What is going on?
You know, what I would say is the sports gambling ecosystem is like so big. There's like, you know, true pro bettors. There's like guys who are like semi-pro. There's like smart recreational bettors. And what I mean by like that is, you know, guys like you and me, Huss, like we're going to bet on our favorite team, but when we do, sometimes we know we're squares. And then there's like the pure, like every level, every segment of the gambling community seems to end up in these things, from like the lowest level of like brain dead or these like shill cappers or scammers. And we all end up in the same place, and people just start yelling at each other. And I just like my overall comment is like, I don't know how to explain it. And I'm doing a horrible job now to your listeners who have normal lives and have like normal jobs.
Not like us.
Yeah, not like us who are like perpetually online. Like, how do I can't explain this to my friend who's got like a normal job and it like leads a team and is like advertising agent. Like what? So at least there are like-minded crazy people like you and me and my friends over at our show on Circles Off YouTube channel, where we, you know, talk about the crazy things that go on in the world of like Twitter gambling. And these spaces are just wild, and there's going to be another one tonight. There's going to be another one tonight where this girl who sells picks is capping the coin toss and using trends. And I like this person, but there's no coming back from that, Hustler.
Oh my God.
There is no coming back from like selling picks, making serious coin toss content, and using previous Super Bowls as coin toss trends. Like on something that is truly 50-50 and no trend will ever matter. But hey, that is, like I said, the sports gambling ecosystem, it is enormous. Like it is enormous. And even though there are parts of it that like you don't interact with, they are there and they're doing their thing. I called it like Game of Thrones because there's too many characters and I don't know who these people are and I don't know who their names are. And I'm not one of these people who watched Game of Thrones with like a notepad writing things down, but I just watched it like high and confused. And that's pretty much what I'm doing with those spaces.
I caught a couple of them in Costa Rica. I'm like, what is going on here? Well, I'll probably pop in again tonight to see what sort of chaos is happening. Hey, dude, thanks as always. Say what's up to the fellas. Enjoy the game on the weekend, and good luck with the picks on the course this weekend. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Haas. Like, just congratulations if you win 3 straight Super Bowls. You can hear how proud I am of you.
Hey, Chargers are on the come up. It's going to be a wild AFC West next year. I mean, Chiefs will still be the Chiefs, but it's a different neighborhood right now with your boy Jim there, Harbaugh, and obviously what's happening in Denver. And we'll see what happens with the Raiders. Have a good one, man. Thanks again.
All the best. Later, Remis.
There's our buddy Geoff Fienberg. Give him a follow on Twitter or X at GFienberg17. All right, we got to get to the Coolbet lines. Let's get Remis back in here. Reem, have you stumbled across any of these spaces over the past week at all? I know you probably do follow some of the people that would have potentially come across your feed.
I actually haven't, so I didn't know what you were talking about, but I did see someone put out a video advising on what to bet on for the coin toss. Someone who seemed to be well respected and trying to make it as an independent content creator, but I don't think coin toss content.
Toss touts.
Yeah, I don't think that's where it's at. But I did enjoy Jeff's takes on the Super Bowl. A lot of betting opportunities. We were looking at some of the fun ones yesterday, and I do enjoy that aspect. So,
no, me too as well. And I'll tell you what. Let's head over to Coolbet because every day this week they're putting up just one day only a big game super boost. And today's is an interesting one. It's the Chiefs-Eagles over 46.5. Now the total for the game is 49 right now. So it's a pretty significant difference. So this is for the game to get to 47. Parlayed with a top 20 for Scotty Scheffler at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. Now, if you just bet that on its own, it would be minus 105. It's boosted to plus 125. So if you want to get that in, get that today. As far as the NHL goes tonight, 3 games. There's so many games last night. Few teams playing on back-to-backs. The Bruins beat the Wild last night. They're in New York to take on the Rangers, who were off. Rangers are minus 208 favorites. We've got the Oilers at minus 266 in Chicago to take on the Blackhawks. And the Habs, who won last night 4-3 in the Shark Tank, moved down to L.A. L.A. a minus 250 favorite. So listen, big faves today. What we did in the lock shop, we went with the super chalk play. We're going to take the 3 favorites all on the puck line. So Rangers by 2, Oilers by 2, Kings by 2. That is what's called the lock shop super chalk today, and it's boosted up to just about 10-1, plus 967. That is up in the combo cards as well. We did put together a little partner parlay for the golf. Burns, Thigala, and Nick Taylor, all top 20. That is boosted to 16-1, plus 1605. Bunch of other exclusives right now. You can check those up both in the exclusives and on the combo cards over at coolbet.com. As far as the Super Bowl goes, the Chiefs remain 1-point favorites in the game. And the money line right now is Chiefs minus 118 and Philly plus 100 or even money right now for the games. We are going to dive in to plenty of props over the next couple days. Friday we'll kind of make our official final wagers, but that is all there for you over at Coolbet. Excuse me. If you haven't played at Coolbet before, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus on your first deposit up to $200, Reem.
Yeah, looking forward to a couple games tonight. Huge number of games. Yesterday, I did see Patrick Kane set the record for most goals in the shootout. I don't know, is that like a record that people care about? Like the goal scoring record where people watching, it's the shootout. Patrick Kane's going to shoot. He could shoot the record. I don't even know who had it before, but it is the goal scoring record. We're keeping track of Ovechkin's. He did score on the weekend versus the Jets. And as for games tonight, I don't know. Will I watch? Will I take a night off? It's going to be weird, Huss. Enjoy the games while we can because, for 2 weeks, it's just 4 nations. It's going to be nice. I'm going to enjoy a couple evenings with my wife, catching up on a couple shows with, I'm not glued to the Jets game or whatever other game. But Oilers, Blackhawks, not exactly a draw. Maybe Kings, Habs, Bruins, Rangers, certainly interesting. 2 teams, I think, falling below the expectations that we had for them coming into this season. So I don't know if you got big plans coming up, or I got to look at this 4 nations schedule. I did the poll before. are you excited? And not a lot of people doing like, yeah, I'm super pumped. Most people are like, yeah, I'm down. I mean, we'll see once the first game starts and like, maybe there's some big hits or some animosity. Like we're going to have JT Miller and Elias Paterson going head to head. That's with USA Sweden. Will anything happen there? Or,
that's that's the third game. I know Canada is going to open the tournament against the Swedes. I believe that game is on the 12th. And then the game against the U.S. is, I believe, on Valentine's Day, if I'm not mistaken, in Montreal. And then the tournament shifts to Boston. And again, I guess it's the holiday. It's the family day or whatever, or Louis Riel Day here, February 17th. And that's going to be a hell of a sports day. Canada, Finland in the afternoon, USA, Sweden at night. Both of those games will be in Boston. I'll be at both of those games. And then at the end of that day, we'll know who the top two teams are playing in the final on Thursday, February 20th. So we'll have a couple days to do some fun shows from Boston in between the end of the round robin and the championship game. And then we'll wrap it up as well from Beantown on the Friday. So it's going to be fun. And if you go actually over to Coolbet right now, I guess there's a whole bunch of new stuff that's up. You can bet the top goal scorer in the tournament, the top goal scorer and point scorer for each team. And then there's a whole bunch of totals. You want Barkov total goals in the tournament, over, under 1.5. I mean, McDavid props. You name it. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to be paying real close attention to, Remo, and that's the status of Sidney Crosby and Mitch Marner, because if one of those players cannot suit up for Canada, I would be shocked if it's not our own Mark Scheifele that's getting the call. Better late than never to be on a team that he probably should have been named on originally.
Yeah, Marner was out with lower body. I wasn't exactly keeping track, and they did announce Crosby day today. I see David Alter 11 minutes ago saying Marner a good possibility to return to the lineup tomorrow. And yeah, I think if you're going to pick a guy to come in, I would pick Mark Scheifele. He's the leading Team Canada goal scorer. How do you not pick him with what he's done in the last, since they announced the team? It's wild. I saw someone on X saying, if Crosby's out, you need a veteran guy to step in. Pick Steven Stamkos. Oh, and you know who it was? It was Matt Larkin from Daily Faceoff, the guy who didn't have
professional hater, Matt Larkin,
the guy who didn't have Mark Scheifele or Morrissey on his roster. I got to call Matt. We got to have him on once this tournament starts. So we'll have to see.
Yeah. Listen, I'll say just one more thing as we wrap our Coolbet line segment. And you may have missed this at the start of the year, but like all of you, we watch this team night in and night out. They've got the best power play ever. They've got the best goalie on the planet. They've got 2 of the top 5 goal scorers. They've got the second best goals against them in the entire league. It is insane that the Jets right now are behind 9 other teams in Stanley Cup odds as the number 1 team. This is going to change. Mark my words. I have a feeling we're going to get through this weekend, and we'll get odds for the Hart Trophy and the Vezina and all those things. At a certain point, people are going to like, wait a second, what the hell's going on? We're almost 60 games into the season, and look at what the Winnipeg Jets have done. So if you want to get in on that 15-1 number, I suggest you do it fast, because it makes no sense. And Remo, you're a guy that loves the Val, loves good value. I don't think there is a better bet on the board right now, considering the number 15-1 right now for the Jets. They've proven that they can play with everyone. I know the playoffs are a different beast, but I think that's why they're so undervalued right now. Interesting that they're 15-1 to win the whole thing, but just 6-1 to win the West. The West numbers are Edmonton plus 275, Dallas plus 450, and then Jets, Avalanche, and Golden Knights, all 6-1. But what is strange is that they have the same number for the West, and yet to win the whole thing, 15-1, while Vegas and Colorado are plus 1250. I'm not complaining about it, but let's take advantage of it. So if you've been thinking about it, I wouldn't wait too long because, Remo, I'm sure you'll agree that number's only going one way, and it ain't going to be up.
Yeah, we talked about this at the start of the show. Was it Don D who said the Jets are the Rodney Dangerfield? Get no respect. So, you can be number one in the standings, but, people put out these fictional power rankings and find a way to make any excuse not to have the Jets number one. Speaking of not getting respect, I know that you, did a shoot? Can I call it a shoot on the athletic player poll?
Yeah.
About the first team you're putting on your no trade clause. But obviously
we're number one in that too.
Yeah, that's one thing the Jets are now. Along with having the number one team, the best goalie, the top goal scoring tandem. Yeah, and where is this athletic power poll? Oh, NHL player poll. The Jets were way to go, athletic NHL staff. Here's I like Murat, I like the athletic, but here's the player poll, okay? Scroll down. The first question that they have is, if you had a no trade list, what's the first? Is that the lead of this article? Is that what people want to know?
Apparently.
Not like who's the toughest player to go up against or something. Or who's the most underrated player? Those are pretty standard. The no trade list, is that getting clicks, Huss?
Apparently it is. And you know what?
Where's James Myrtle? I got to ask him. What's going on here?
Couldn't care less. Let those players put Winnipeg on their no trade list, and they won't be with us. They'll have to deal with us come playoff time. Because I'll tell you what, this team, who cares about those guys that are playing for other teams? You know who doesn't have have a Winnipeg on their no play list? How about Connor Hellebuck? How about Josh Morrissey, Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor? The list goes on. So don't worry about it. You'll have to deal with the Winnipeg Jets at some point. And the team has been there's not much to do out there, one player said. It's effing cold.
Do you want me to read the quotes here?
Do we really want to give these morons the time of day?
That's a good point. I kind of just wanted to ignore this, but people do ask, hey, comment on the player poll.
Here's the comment. It's their loss. And I'll tell you what, it would be hilarious. And it tells you how much guys really feel listen, if all you want to do is live somewhere warm and be in a great tax situation, then you know what? Take advantage of that. Go to Nashville. Be part of the off-season champions. I'm sure you'll have plenty of time in the spring, plenty of free time to enjoy Broadway and Music City and all that. The guys that are here, that have bought in, that have committed to here, have been the core of the number one team in the National Hockey League. So Winnipeg doesn't have to apologize for shit. Let them deal with that and deal with the Jets come playoff time. And maybe they'll wish they didn't have that team on their no-trade list and they could be playing on a real cup contender.
They did take a Jets player, defended the city, noting that the drive from the airport to downtown isn't exactly the scenic route. Quote, I remember when I first did it, it was underwhelming. There are parts of the city that are great, but you don't see that as a visiting player. I always wish they'd stayed down at the Forks or somewhere else. I don't think that hotel meets the criteria for the league, but it would be better than staying downtown. One thing you can point to us is when Cheveldayoff has traded for players like Nino Niederreiter, Dylan DeMello, who's signed here twice, who has chosen to raise his family here. These Connor Hell. You can count on so many players who have come here and re-signed. Obviously, getting them in the door, a challenge, but once they're in, it is tough to keep them away. Like Eric Comrie, he said he keeps coming back, right? And all these players, us who say they don't want to play in Canada because of the pressure. I think they're just a bunch of softies. Go play anywhere in baseball or NFL where it's 24/7. Like it's nothing. here or Toronto compared
you
to
don't want a passionate market that actually cares about the team as opposed to these other places where you can be just some anonymous high-paid guy that, can check in and check out when they go to work. Go for it. Funny chat. Oh, Greg from Royal. When you suffer from Chiefs derangement syndrome, you start developing Jets insane syndrome as well, I guess. Let's all pray for us.
Oh,
Beat it, Hasbeek. He's always trying to take this back to the Chiefs. Much like dealing with the Jets, you will have to deal with the Chiefs on Sunday. And it's your boy Bruce. I love it. Losers, enjoy your shopping while we chase the cup. And Ehlers, we don't have to apologize for everything. Listen, there's a lot of stuff. Oh, and I see my guy JBM. Jake's in the chat. What's going on, Jake? Just diving into all those juicy, and we'll really kind of spend more time on the Four Nations. Probably Monday, post Super Bowl recap of the big game, and then it's time to get our futures in before it's done. But it's all there right now. And as I said, if you feel the Jets are a legitimate Stanley Cup contender, the odds on the Jets are a hell of a lot better than 9 other teams right now. So get it while the getting's good. Should be a fun one tomorrow, Reem. Speaking of that athletic poll, our good friend from the Athletic, Murat Atesh, is going to join us. We'll also get the latest on what's going on around the CFL with Justin Dunk, and for the second time in 3 years, a Super Bowl conversation with myself from the Chiefs side of things and our buddy Chris Meany, now at the National Hockey League, a card-carrying member of the Eagles Nation.
Oh, really? Oh, I know he's wanted to talk Super Bowl, NFL as well, doing great work. We got to ask Murat, like, when they do this athletic player poll, are they sitting in the editor's room and be like, which poll should we put first in this article? Oh, the no trade clause one. That's the one that's going to get the most clicks. That's what people care about. Anyways, I'm excited to have Murat on. Also, Justin Dunk. We didn't really hit a lot of CFL stuff today, but the big news today was that the salary cap going up $400,000. We've certainly seen that. Teams, I don't know if they knew or not. I think maybe some did, some didn't. I don't know. Justin Dunk will hit us with all the CFL free agency topics as it officially gets underway February 11, but seemingly all the players have already signed.
More cash for CFL players. Let it go.
That's good. Well, $400K it went up. That's like close to 10% salary cap increase. So the league's certainly doing well. I don't know when they're, we talk about the NHL TV deal going up. I don't know when the CFL's is. I know TSN's been a nice partner for the league, but I feel like TSN's been getting a bargain. It's like CFL is one of the highest rated Canadian TV shows routinely, hitting big numbers. So I'm curious what's going to happen there. And hey, we did get his nice super chat, Tico Napoli.
Hey, Ticona.
Ticona is so generous. He says, playing in the NHL is a privilege, and you should be proud to play a career anywhere. Hashtag Lucets? I don't know what that was, but he wrote it in all caps. I tried to read it in all caps. So
yeah,
I showed Ticona.
The king of the caps. The king of all caps, Ticona Pauly in the chat. Fun show today. If you joined us late, really fun conversation about the Jets as a team, their identity with Kevin Sawyer. Make sure to check that out. Fun to have Ken on the program, and always good to chop it up with my buddy Geoff Fienberg as we get ready for the big game on Sunday. More Super Bowl coverage tomorrow. Chris Meany join us. We'll have a little Chiefs-Eagles head-to-head face-off. Get his thoughts on the Four Nations coming up. And then our buddy Ches, Davis Sanchez, speaking of betting, I know he likes to throw down a bet or two. He'll jump on Friday. We'll have Lee Hacksaw Hamilton as well. And the latest on the Jets as they get ready for the Islanders on Friday. Don't forget, Friday night, WST Game of the Month. Last chance to see the team for more than 2 weeks. Go to winnipegjets.com/WST. Grab your tickets, and let's fire it up in Section 316 and hopefully send the Jets off into the break on an 8-game winning streak. Well, the Islanders have been doing a pretty good job themselves as well lately, winning 8 of their last 9. That is going to do it for us today. Thanks again to all the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. All of you for hanging out with us. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. hit the thumbs up, and make sure to join us 1 p.m. tomorrow right here on WST. Have a great one, everyone.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down. Let's go home.
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.